Hi, everybody, and welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 19. I am your host, and with me, as always, is my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hey.
Wow, that was enthusiastic. You're pumped up, eh?
Yeah.
Just welcome back, everybody, or welcome if you're new. And as always, we like to just thank everybody for listening to us wherever you do. You can pretty much find us all over the place now. iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, obviously. I think we're even getting added to Tunein and iHeartRadio at some point. That's in the works anyways. So you may hear about that as well. And yeah, we picked up a few subscribers, followers, listeners, whatever. The beginning of the week, we did really well, and it sort of tapered off the last couple of days. But I think overall, it was about the same. It started out like a really hot week and then just tapered off into a normal week, which is totally fine. Slow, steady growth. That's our motto right here, right? So,
Yeah.
What's new with us? We decorated our house for the holidays. I think that was right after the podcast last week, right? We did that.
Yeah.
It's kind of going to be strange not to host anything this year, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a very talkative guy today. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because we usually host my side of the family, right, at one point.
Yeah, and then we usually go somewhere else for mom's family.
Oh, right, for the cousins. That's a fun time where everybody, it's held after Christmas.
Oh, no. We also don't usually go to grandpa's.
Yeah, we do that too. Oh. But the cousins on my wife's side, we do one where we all bring, it's after Christmas, sort of between Christmas and New Year's, where everybody brings the worst gift they got, and we sort of auction those off, and it's pretty fun.
There's
pretty fun time.
pickles, and I never get them.
Yes, one of the cousins, the husband makes pickles, his own. Well, he makes a lot of stuff, but pickles are always what we're fighting over in the gift exchange, it seems, every year.
Never get the pickles.
Yep, nope. And so what's your drinking update? We did make it to the plaza
Booster
today.
Juice again.
Booster juice, and we grabbed lunch while we were there, some pizza.
Again.
Right. So I switched up my booster juice. You went Funky Monkey again. I tried accidentally tried the cherry tart, and it actually is quite delicious. So
nice.
It was a happy accident, I guess.
Yeah.
As always, what's new with school? I like to ask you, and you like to wriggle out of it talking about it.
I'm writing a thing.
A thing about what? You're so specific.
Some narrative thing. It sucks.
Are you enjoying it?
No.
But you're doing really well in school. Your report card was awesome. So keep doing what you're doing.
I'm told.
Well, you saw it, did you not?
Yes.
You looked at it and read it?
Yes.
It was quite complimentary, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Without spoilers, obviously, because it just was on yesterday, how did you find Mandalorian?
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Very good, right? We get, I don't want to say too much, but you get some lightsabers, you get, you learn the name of the child.
I think a lot of people know. Oh, yeah, you do learn.
Well, I know a lot of
name.
people do, but I guarantee not everybody watched it, and they want to find these things out for themselves. So quite an enjoyable episode, when is it not,
I'm just
right?
saying, I think it's in the description.
I know, but not everybody reads the description. Not everybody watches trailers.
I guess.
Not everyone consumes things the way you do, right? But yeah, it was an enjoyable show for sure. It's funny, it's good because I've always checked to see how long it is when we start, because they're of slightly varying lengths, and it's always like, yes, it's a longer one this week, right? So it's a good one when we're looking to add a few more minutes to it.
Yeah.
Anything else to discuss, or do you want to get into the meat and potatoes, as they say, of this show?
Meat and what? I'm confused.
Like, this is the appetizer we're talking about. The entree's on its way. It's just on the stove.
I want Matt Riddle.
The figure?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a figuring out moment.
Yeah.
You
That's
do want
all
that.
I could think of.
I heard he had a really good match with Sheamus. I didn't see it, obviously, but I heard it.
Oh, yeah. One thing that happened to me was, a little while ago.
Yeah.
I think I told you already, but so I was playing Star Wars Force Unleashed 2.
Yep.
Because I thought there was this alternate ending thingy at the end.
Right.
So I beat it and then discovered it wasn't in that, and it in fact was in Force Unleashed, the first one. So then I was like, okay, I'll just play that. And then best part was I found out it was DLC that I could probably no longer get unless I buy the Ultimate Sith edition, which is deluxe edition. So
right.
I actually found one from Canada on eBay, so I sent that to my aunt.
Oh, as a gift idea?
Yep, hoping that turns out nicely.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, so I played the wrong game, then I was going to play the game, but then I needed DLC on the game. So basically,
wasted a bunch of your time?
Convoluted process. I mean, it's a good game, but yes.
Yeah, sorry, wasted's probably not true if you enjoy the game.
Yeah, but it was kind of a waste because it was just like, I didn't need to necessarily play it again.
But what are you going to do? Quarantine time, we're stuck at home,
Yeah.
may as well play some old video games. I'm excited by those classic Nintendo ones that I got for free on the Switch. Some good times. Your brother was very into Super Punch-Out the other day. It's a very fun game, and some Tecmo Bowl.
He was like
and
yelling and shrieking like he does when he plays Fortnite.
Some Double Dragon. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move into...
I like the games on that Sega thing you have.
Oh, I have a Sega emulator or whatever it is. It's cool because you can still put the cartridges in, right? You can buy cartridges as well and use it, because Sega Genesis is my favorite system of all time, probably. It's probably not a common choice.
There's this one website emulator I found on the computer, and it's got like some classic wrestling games on there, like WWF, No Mercy, and WrestleMania 2000, and like those ones that you hear everybody praise.
Yep, Coots is very excited to get us over because he's got a Commodore 64 simulator or whatever that he's built. I have that little plug-in one, but you know how he does things on a grand scale, so it'll be sweet. And that was my first ever really system I played games on, was the Commodore 64. My parents had the portable Commodore 64 SX, I believe. If anyone wants to Google image that, it was a quote-unquote portable Commodore 64 computer that I don't know what the weight on it was, but I remember as a young kid I couldn't carry it. So it was... portable computing has come a long way. So yeah, I had one of those, and the screen was like, I don't know, maybe 4 inches, and we actually had like a magnifying, gosh, I remember it vividly. We had like a strip of magnifying, I don't know what it was, plastic, and then we had like a container like that raspberries or strawberries.
Oh wow, that is a small screen.
Yeah, that raspberries or strawberries come in, and we just sort of sliced holes in the side of it and put this magnifying screen.
How do you even see anything on that?
Well, it was amazing considering back in the day. So we would pack that thing up, take it to Grandma and Grandpa's in Niagara Falls, and still have all my games with me. It was cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so a high school buddy of mine is very much into these sort of things. So he's built his own, I think, Commodore 64. He's got a whole bunch, right? Like he's got that arcade system that you always play when we're there.
Yeah, there's the one wrestling game on there that's pretty fun.
So if we ever get to go visit and interact with our friends again, we will enjoy trying that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, well,
that was certainly off-topic banter.
A lot of banter for us this week. So let's move into some wrestling-related stuff. And
I feel like there's only a couple weeks where like we have a lot of it, and then like all weeks just like the average you talking and me saying nothing.
Because we spend a lot of time together, so it's hard to recreate some of our conversations, right? We've pretty much exhausted all of our... Yeah. We talk all week long about stuff.
And we're not that interesting.
That is also a very fair point. We are mildly interesting at best.
We could talk about our cat a lot. That's probably more...
She's pretty fantastic. I wish she'd come in sometimes for the show, but...
She's a big suck sometimes.
If we ever do a video pod,
we will feature her, yes.
She will be featured for sure.
It's a must-have.
All right, well, let's move into some news and rumors, which is going to be different this week because I always start out with the ratings for NXT.
For some reason...
It's American Thanksgiving, so they are, I guess, no one's working or whatever the reason is. They're not doing the ratings until Monday, so I can't tell you. So, Jackson, let's make up a number.
5.
Who, for NXT or AEW?
I don't know, just 5.
648,000 viewers for NXT, and AEW had 896,000, and those numbers are completely made up by me, so they are not accurate, but we will find out. I'm not going to lie, I probably won't even remember to put this week's ratings in next week's.
No, because you'll just do next week's ratings, right? So.
And I'm not that smart, so. But you never know. Now that I've said it out loud, it's in the universe. There's a better chance I remember, but it's still not great.
But it's like, and also... I think if you're probably just gonna do next week's ratings, right? So I don't think, and I don't think people are gonna listen. No offense, just for the ratings.
See, you don't think there's any people that just turned off the show because they don't even have their ratings? I'm out.
Right.
Sorry.
What? No ratings.
We can't afford to lose you. We don't have many listeners. I promise. We'll be entertaining later.
Yeah.
Do you have any news? You said you had some news bullets.
I have. Let me count. 1, 2, 3,
well,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh my goodness.
I have 8.
Okay, then you go first because I only have 2.
So Impact Wrestling reportedly tried to sign, this was probably a while ago, given who it is, but Chris Jericho to a big contract. Yep. So obviously he was in AEW, so must have been like early 2019 when they were trying to sign him, I would assume.
I assume everyone was inquiring at least, right? It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. But that's interesting.
Yep.
Obviously, AEW.
Good luck, Impact.
Right. Obviously, AEW is offering them more big bucks, right? So.
Well, and it's just
a little more mainstream.
Yes, and bigger exposure, that sort of thing, right? And
I guess it worked out for him.
Yep. But like we were saying, Impact seems to be the place where you go before you go somewhere. So, and I've heard that they're usually very happy I was telling you, when their wrestlers go on to
They're
bigger,
kind of like
better
the
things.
company that builds people, like
Right.
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe.
Unfortunately, I feel like they sometimes wait a bit long to push those people, and they basically push them for the last little bit, and then they're gone when they could have gotten sort of more value, you know what I mean, out of them.
Right.
But who knows? Who am I to say?
Right.
I haven't run too many companies.
I think just based on, well, with hindsight now, TNA/Impact also kind of serves as like the last hurrah for some people, like Kurt Angle and Sting. And
yes, it is kind of this weird where you've got really young guys about to go somewhere, and then older guys on their way back from somewhere.
To be fair, I think Kurt Angle had a lot left, and then Sting had some left. But then you
Yes.
had guys like Mick Foley coming back, Ric Flair, who had just retired in WWE, like Kevin Nash. No one needed that. Hulk Hogan.
RVD to a certain extent, more
Eric
recent.
Bischoff. Yeah, more recent.
Shamrock, as we'll talk
Oh,
about
hell
later.
yeah, Shamrock. Ugh.
For sure.
Even 2002, I think Shamrock being there was weird. But
what else you got?
so Ricky Starks, Team Taz, he's in AEW now. Apparently WWE tried to sign him the same day he debuted on Dynamite.
I did read that somewhere, and that he was kind of like, he acted like he was interested, but all the time he knew, because that's what you do, right? You don't want to burn any bridges. You always are thankful for the offer and act like you might take it. And then, but I think he said he always knew he was going to go to AEW, or had already decided he was going to go to AEW, right? But
right.
You never want to burn any bridges because you may need them later, right?
Yep.
I'll throw in one. So Pro Wrestling Tees, which basically does everything except WWE t-shirts, I think. So they announced already their best-selling... Did you see any of this, by the way? Because I'm going to ask you to guess. Perfect. They announced their best-selling t-shirts for 2020. So would you care to guess the same wrestler had the number 1 and number 2 shirts overall this year? So anyone non-WWE that you think sold a lot of merch?
Kip Sabian.
My reaction to that is to laugh. Sorry.
I'm kidding.
Obviously.
John Moxley.
It is not John Moxley, but you are in the right company, obviously.
Kenny Omega.
Nope.
Hangman.
Nope.
Chris Jericho.
Thinks Chris Jericho. So here's the interesting thing. Chris Jericho sold the most shirts overall because he had more options, I think, but he's not the one that has the top 2. You're thinking too high on the card right now.
Huh.
A little
Orange
bit.
Cassidy.
Correct. So he had t-shirts number 1 and 2, and I would think I could give you a million guesses and you would never get who had 3rd. So Jericho had 4th.
Jimmy Havoc.
Jericho had 4th and 5th. Cassidy had the 1st and 2nd, and the 3rd is a long deceased wrestler.
Oh, really?
Who his wife will have nothing to do with WWE.
Owen Hart.
Correct.
Nice.
Because I think it was based off of it being on what's that? The show that's
Dark
on.
Side of the
There
Ring.
you go. Thank you for being my memory. Yeah, based off of that, he sold a whole whack of shirts, which is cool. So yeah, interesting. What else do you have?
Let's see. Vince McMahon was said to be the mastermind behind Undertaker's farewell at Survivor Series recently.
Sorry. When you say mastermind, is
like,
it the
he was
implication that it
planning
was good?
I don't know. That's
Anyways,
what it said on the website.
we'll
I'm
get
just
to
saying,
that.
like, he was behind it.
Okay, that's fair.
And he dedicated a lot of time putting it together. And then I said it took a lot of time to execute as well.
It sure did. We'll get to that. So yeah, because I don't think the term mastermind fits.
That's what it said on the website.
I know. I'm just
maybe
kidding.
mastermind is what he would say.
And everyone's opinion could be different. Some people may have loved that segment. I'm sure.
My favorite part about it was Jeff Hardy's face paint.
Nice. We'll get there. What else you have?
WWE files a new trademark for Dean Ambrose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure that's super important.
I wonder why they would do that.
Given his success in AEW, I definitely think he's going to go back to Dean Ambrose. He would definitely want to do that.
I wonder what maybe they're just protecting that name in case they do bring him back, or not allowing him to. I don't know why he'd want to use it. Anyways, I don't understand the business very much, so
yeah,
who knows?
Seems very confusing.
My only other one is that Walter has now held the UK title
for like 600 days.
Over 600 days, and I ask you honestly, who is credible enough to ever beat him?
Pete Dunne's gone.
Right. And I can't
where's Tyler Bate?
And I'm not even saying it's a complaint. I'm just saying they're making the right choice, because I really like that Dragunov match was amazing, but did I really think he was going to win? No.
Maybe eventually, but not
Might
now.
even be one of my matches of the year, but did I think Dragunov was going to win? No. He's just too big for this promotion, maybe both literally and figuratively.
But he doesn't want to move to the U.S.,
No.
so this is the only thing he's going to do. He'll just be the forever champion.
But this is cool in a way,
He's
right?
trailing Pete Dunne's reign, though. I think his was like 800-something days.
But I like this because this is like old school where guys have it for years before, and you really, really build somebody, and you really build the title. Like, when that title switches hands, that's going to be a really big deal.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes me wish this brand was more visible.
I keep trying to watch
Just
it. I
more
even
relevant.
tried yesterday a little bit. It's just a lot of the undercard and stuff isn't very interesting.
Yeah,
Some
a lot of the
more...
undercard's weak. And, like, you even got, like, Jordan Devlin over there. Like,
I
that
did
guy's
watch him
talented.
this week, so I was sort of paying attention. I was doing some work as well. But, yeah, so there's some excellent talent there, and it is only an hour of a show, right? But the undercard...
Just the mid-card's really lacking.
Yeah, it doesn't thrill me. Go ahead. I'm exhausted of my news now, so it's all you. Tell me when you're
Have you ever heard of Taylor Wilde?
I have. Returning, yes?
Yep, she's set to return to Impact Wrestling in sometime soon, I think.
I think
no
she's okay.
details exactly when, but...
I think she was okay, but I don't remember exactly. Obviously, my memory's amazing, but I don't remember disliking her, right? So I would probably remember that.
Nice.
Yep.
WWE were reportedly interested in Jade Cargill before she signed with AEW. I wonder why they would possibly want her.
Well, they looked at her, right, and said, "Look she's an impressive."
I bet she has zero wrestling talent, but they don't give a damn.
No, that's their least of their concerns some of the time. Especially, it seems like with the women on main roster, right?
Like
we
Mandy
talk about
Rose.
it. You've got a ton of amazing talent in the women's division in NXT, and the main roster, you've got Asuka, Sasha, Bailey, who are terrific, and then there is like a drop off, right?
And they got rid of Sonya Deville, who has future potential.
I agree. I thought she was already good with the potential to be excellent. Yeah, I don't know. They just seem to rush them. Actually, I was going to say rush the women, but they seem to rush everybody out of NXT, right? So it's not even fair to say just them.
Right. Agreed.
Yep. What else you got?
Dwayne Gill, a.k.a. Gilbert,
Yeah.
recently suffered a heart attack.
Oh.
But is now said to be doing very well.
Good.
So that's good.
Don't want anyone to suffer.
Nope.
His mimicry of Goldberg was pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. Especially with like the pyro, I think. It was like sparklers or something.
And then like he would get like he would like be coughing or whatever.
Like it got old really quick for me, and they beat that dead horse forever, but at the very beginning it was kind of funny.
I liked
to be
when
honest.
he returned in that segment with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. I think it was the Festival of Friendship.
Oh, great classic scene.
Yeah.
I wish when's the last time WWE did something that entertaining? It's been a while for sure.
I don't know.
Because that was awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
My last one is per Dave Meltzer. Braun Strowman is in current plans for a WWE title match against Drew McIntyre
Sure.
at TLC 2020. But I'll talk more about what happened on Raw, but he's now reportedly out with a knee injury, which would explain his recent kayfabe suspension.
Ah, I see. Because I haven't heard much about him lately, so I don't watch enough main roster to know what's going on, but that makes sense because I haven't heard. I listen to podcasts that review main roster stuff, but I don't watch
I'll
it.
talk more about that in or any other wrestling business.
Oh, nice. Sounds good. So that was the end of your news?
Yeah.
All right, so I thought first thing we'd sort of sneak in here going before we get to AEW was to talk about the Survivor Series, kind of do another like turbo review of that pay-per-view because it's sort of off in the distance now. It was on Saturday night, right after we recorded. Basically, we watched it. It wasn't good enough for us to sort of jump in and want to do a special podcast of it.
I hardly even wanted to do the bonus episode for AEW's pay-per-view, which was a good pay-per-view.
Right.
So, like...
And that still required me nagging.
Right. And so imagine my desire to do a bonus episode on a WWE main roster pay-per-view.
Right. So we actually missed the kickoff show, but Miz won the Battle Royal because it was the classic. He wasn't thrown out, but they thought he was, and Dominic celebrated, and then Miz was actually still in, which they've done a million times. And he threw Dominic
The way they
out.
did it this time, though, was actually okay.
I actually did like that variation.
He was he was like lying on the apron, and so Dominic walked back, and then he ran, and so Miz like rolled in for a second, but then Dominic drop kicked him out. So it did kind of look like
right.
But it's like kind of like a sleight of hand thing. So I thought this one was actually clever, but yeah, it is sometimes done to death.
Because Miz had gone over the top rope but landed on the apron.
Yeah,
right,
and I think the one that's done to death is they just went through the middle ropes
and we're gone for
and like
10
the
minutes.
person who tried to eliminate them just didn't bother to check, right?
And they turn their back and celebrate. Classic.
Right.
Yeah.
But this was like sort of clever, and then we also had Gobbledygooker winning the 24/7 title from R-Truth,
which is just amazing.
And on the main show, Akira Tozawa would distract him with bird seeds to win the title back. And we later found out, not on the show, but just per the wrestling community, that the Gobbledygooker was supposedly played by Drew Gulak.
So, are we to believe that the person inside the suit wanted birdseed, or that the person, because we know it's a person in a suit, or that the bird wearing the bird suit makes you an actual bird and you want the birdseed? Like, what are we to believe
I
here?
think it's just a very cliche kind of,
It just makes absolutely no sense.
And especially when you analyze it like that.
I'm glad that
just makes it feel really stupid.
Right? Like, what are... So, Drew Gulak has some obsession with birdseed, or the suit changes his biology into a bird, and he literally craves... I don't know. But that's all we're going to talk about.
When you say it like that, it sounds really stupid.
That's kind of... Right? Like... If you look at it with a logical mind, it's got to be one of those two things.
That's funny.
So the actual show proper kicked off with the men's Survivor Series
Which
match,
I was surprised with, because usually this is like close to the main event.
So I have a few notes on it. I thought Uso and Styles had a really good start.
One thing I'd like to say is, so Seth Rollins sacrificed himself to a brogue kick. I really dislike this. One, wouldn't be the greater good to get a win, because he said like for the greater good, and then just suffered a loss.
Yes.
Like, and also they took like my favorite guy out of the match. Like, I think he was one of the best guys in the match, especially when you got like Otis and Sheamus and like, I don't know. I think he could have done some good stuff in that match if WWE's creative wasn't so crap.
Yeah, just in case anyone missed it, he basically kneels down, spreads his arms wide, and sacrifices himself and takes a brogue kick and gets pinned.
How's that for the greater good?
But it doesn't benefit anyone. I don't see the point.
Yeah.
I think it's his write-off, right? Because he's taking some time off before.
You're in kayfabe, if you're Seth Rollins' character, right? You're this messiah. You're like doing everything for the quote-unquote greater good. How is losing and getting voluntarily booted in the face?
Yeah, I didn't see the connection
doing
either.
Something for the greater good.
I did not get the point.
Another
thing I didn't like was Otis got the luxury of no selling Riddle's kicks to the chest.
I really did not like that.
Because his kicks are awesome.
Just the way he does it, I really like.
I did not like that at all.
I despise
Then I thought the pace slowed down until we got the Owen Styles, and I thought they had a nice little segment in the middle of this match as well. We get multiple stunners to people, but then Owens takes the phenomenal forearm and he's eliminated. Riddle then eliminates Corbin. We actually get a pretty impressive flurry by Otis versus basically everybody at one point, and I think the word is that Vince really loves Otis for some reason, so he actually had a pretty decent showing somewhere in the middle here.
Yeah.
Braun eventually eliminates Otis, and only whichever Uso it is left. Jey Uso is left. Lee catches Uso out of the air and hits his big spirit bomb for a clean sweep. I thought this was okay. But
I thought this was mostly mediocre.
Me too. There was really no stakes. These matches are pretty outdated, right? Unless you
have like a lot of genuine talent, which like there's a bit here. These matches aren't great because sometimes, given the talent involved, these matches can be really good.
Yeah, last year they made it feel more important, right? This year they didn't even try to make it worth anything.
Last year I think NXT genuinely
it made
brought some importance, because not just because I like NXT and they have good talent, but like because if you're thinking kayfabe once again here, right? If you're an NXT superstar, right? You're like this up and comer, and this is your chance to kind of show up these big stars like a Golden Boy, like Roman Reigns, and like
it's fresh matchups
Seth
for
Rollins,
the fans, right?
Yeah, that too, right? Like you had like these triple threats. Like you had Nakamura, Strong, and Styles. That's probably an indie wrestling dream right there, right?
Yep.
But I just like, because I feel like the NXT guys, it was really important to them, and then it kind of makes it important to the fans too, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing with diminishing and the prestige of championships, right? Like I was just reading a thing about the Intercontinental title, the time it was retired in 2002.
Yeah.
Which was kind of
It was gone for a while.
But yeah, so I just think
I feel
they
like
really just dropped the ball this year.
I feel like last year they tried really hard, whether you liked it or didn't like it. They tried, right? This year it didn't even feel like they tried really. Like,
Right.
here's a bunch of dudes, they're gonna have a match.
Even like 2018 when there wasn't NXT in it, they still had some cool matches. Like the men's tag had a lot of good talents in it. You got like a Rollins versus Nakamura match in
Yeah.
there, right? Like there's just like it depends on the talent involved really, and then like if the match is good enough, who cares if it's just for brand supremacy as long as it's a good match, right? But this really just was mediocre to me, and
I agree. I wasn't thrilled. It wasn't a great opener.
they really didn't try, like you said.
I have a suggestion later on for Survive, like a kayfabe suggestion
Okay.
to maybe make them more interesting.
Alright,
So the next
interesting.
match is for the tag team, or not for championship.
But
sorry.
tag
It
tag
is
teams
for
facing off.
supremacy or whatever you want to call it. So it's New Day versus Street Profits. And man, I don't think you did either. I did not like the Street Profits pre-match promo with.
I hated it. Oh my god.
He needs to
Just
dial
over
it
the top.
back
This
just
is
a bit.
honestly, their overhyped spiels and their promos is like partly what I hate about Shotzi Blackheart, if I'm being honest. Just like this
It's too
overhyped
much.
kayfabe. Just I don't even know what the hell
And
they
they
were
were
doing.
cool in NXT, and even their mic work and character work was
More so
good.
Montez Ford, but yeah.
So anyways, this was really, really long, and Ford was far too high energy for me. I did not enjoy it at all. The
Yeah.
match gets started. I have a few notes on this one too, nothing too detailed. At one point, I have somehow it's Dawkins that picks up the pace in this match, which is not what you would expect, really, looking at who's in there. There was a running sliced bread by Ford running up Dawkins, like using Dawkins to run up and flip backwards, which looked pretty cool. We get a blind tag by Dawkins, and the Street Profits hit an electric chair blockbuster to Kofi for the win.
I'd
what'd you
like
think?
to make a note. The one time he hits the frog splash,
Yes.
Montez Ford, and I think it was Tom Phillips. He's like, "From the heavens," and I think that's a really cool line if he didn't use it every time.
Nice.
You know, like I think it'd be a really cool line. I was talking to you about this, like when we were watching it, is if like there's like the odd time where Montez Ford hits those like a especially good frog splash, then you should say the line because I think it's a really good line,
Right.
kind of like JR's "For the Love of Mankind"
Yep.
thing, right? But he says it like basically every time, so it's not that cool.
Yeah,
Anymore.
that sounds pretty fair to me. I
But-
thought the final few minutes of this match were really fun. It started a bit slow, but I would say overall this was a pretty good match, especially compared to the
a
opener.
little lackluster given the two teams involved, but not terrible by any means.
Nope. Then we get a match I didn't like quite so much, and that was Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley,
Yeah.
which was basically Lashley being pretty dominant,
And Sami Zayn
bringing back the
running,
vertigo.
Yeah, and running from the Hurt Business and tripping and doing dumb stuff.
And that vertigo thing was a callback to,
their 2018 storyline with Bobby Lashley's sisters segment.
and that's what got Sami out of going to, because he couldn't go to Saudi Arabia, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was the sort of the way he didn't go
This
because
just
he was
felt like
suffering from vertigo.
it was just a weird heel versus heel match that just didn't work.
Right. I didn't think
And
it
he
was
just-
very good, and
he
I
kept
liked
trying to
both.
avoid the Hurt Business on the outside.
Right.
Just there was something with this match that I just really didn't like. I don't know.
And I like both of these guys. You know, I
Yeah,
love
me
Sami
too.
Zayn and his character, and Lashley, I think, is a star as long as you don't make him talk or act too much, like in ring
Yeah,
and just
agreed.
look wise. He's incredible. I did not enjoy that
I
match
think
either.
Bobby
Something
Lashley
about it.
is one of the rare cases where TNA did much better than WWE.
They did. He was pretty cool there. Even when he separated, I guess MVP was gone, and he was doing his own thing and even talking for himself a bit. He was actually pretty good in Impact.
Yeah, I was just seeing like a lot of stuff about him and Impact and like how they blurred the lines between him and his MMA career as
Yes,
well. I think
did.
that would be an interesting thing to do for Jake Hager.
Yeah.
In AEW if they
They
were to
mention
go
it
down
and
that
stuff
route.
from time to time.
Well, like I mean, just like making him this badass big man who's just wrecking everybody. You know what I mean?
Yep. We then get I thought, a strong segment with Roman backstage talking to the Usos. I think he's doing some amazing work with his character, and he's
Yeah.
really good actor all of a sudden. And he's some of my favorite heels in movies, shows, wrestling, everything, is when they're quietly menacing, right? They're not yelling and screaming and making a fuss. They're just quietly speaking, but they're still
And like
menacing.
almost speaking the truth, dare I say?
Yes. And
Like it almost doesn't feel like heel logic here. You know what I mean?
the only thing that I didn't love about this is, you know how Jay is saying like, well, I tried my best, but it was 5 against 1, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And Roman's like saying that's not good enough. I think it would have been even stronger if Jay had eliminated a couple, Because to a certain degree, you're kind of like, not that you agree with Roman, but you're like, I get it. The guy did nothing. Like, he got swept, basically.
Yeah,
That's
you should have
brutal.
at least gotten,
But what if Jay had the argument of like, listen, I eliminated 1 or 2 guys by myself, right? And Roman's
Right.
still like, no, you're trash.
Yeah.
I think that would have
No,
made it a bit
actually,
stronger.
that's a good point.
But I
Didn't
thought
think
it
of
was
that.
still a really cool segment. Roman Reigns is doing
I just like
amazing
how
work.
he's like, yeah, you do go, but like, if you want to represent our family, you gotta be winning. You gotta be like representing us full force. You know what I mean?
No, he's doing fantastic
Just
work.
something
And
about it. It's really good.
they should have let him turn heel a long time ago. It feels
Yeah,
like.
I mean everyone was saying that, so I mean I guess it's true.
Yep. The next
into
match
his
I
element.
would suggest was probably match of the night, or in my top 2 at least, and that's Asuka and Sasha Banks. I don't know if these two could possibly have a bad match. Sasha wins it by quote.
Reversing a roll up.
I was quoting Jack, sort of roll up. That
Yeah.
thanks Jack in there.
You're welcome.
I mean, I thought this was a really good match between.
I thought this was good. I think I wanted a little more from this match, if I'm being honest,
Wow,
but it
really?
wasn't bad. I thought it was good, but I just feel like it didn't feel as much of a big match as I think it should have been, given their previous feud and the talent involved. I think it was good, but I think it should have been a little better.
I think what helped me a little bit was that I really didn't know who was going to win, right? Like most of these.
Yeah.
Despite, did you get my text yesterday, by the way?
Yeah.
You didn't reply? What was my text?
I don't know.
Oh, it was that I picked every single match on this card correctly last week. Every single one. You got 2 wrong. Big brain. And then I sent you an image of a big brain, right? Did you get that?
Yes.
You didn't reply. That's strange.
Hmm.
Then it was 24/7 stuff, which we covered, and we don't want to go over again if we don't have to. Then we get the Women's Survivor Series match, which I have a few notes again.
I really didn't like this.
I didn't enjoy it either. There was a not great superplex by Royce to Bailey. Royce eliminates Bailey with the deja vu. Natalya and Royce botch something, and Royce ends up tapping out here. We get a women's right to eliminate Natalya. A nice Spanish fly by Evans to Belair. Baszler pins Riot after she passes out. Liv pins Evans with a crucifix. Jax pins Morgan after a Samoan drop. Baszler looks dumb getting eliminated, I thought, because she got DQ'd because she wasn't breaking a hold in the ropes. And I thought that was, for someone of Baszler's caliber, that was lame.
Yeah, I think Baszler and Belair should have been the 2 survivors, or the last 2 for both their teams.
Right.
And just had like a belter of a mini match, but
no,
alas.
the plan is we're getting Lana over as a babyface. So
boy.
she's being bullied by her group, and they're refusing to tag her.
Yeah, they made her stand on the steps.
'cause
Which
they're-
is pretty funny.
Because they're 14-year-olds, and she even had to stand on the steps, not near them.
That was funny because she sucks.
And then it gets down to the end, and Nia and Belair get counted out, and it turns out that Lana, surprise, surprise,
She's
is the
like
sole
celebrating
survivor.
like she did something.
Right. I did not.
Like she worked hard to be sole survivor.
I
She did nothing.
I did not enjoy this. There were some good parts. Bianca Belair got at least a good showing here, but
She got a better showing last year.
there was a bit of sloppiness in certain spots. And there's no point to these matches. There's no stakes. There's a mediocre build.
Yeah, and like I said with the first one, more so with this than the men's one, but you need stronger talent if you want this match to be important, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I would have used this to showcase Belair. It's time to get this girl rolling. She's got everything, and she should be a megastar.
And Baszler.
This would be this would have been a perfect time to have her just dominate. She did get some impressive flashes,
I
but I
think
would have done
Lana,
more.
when she tagged in, she should have just been eliminated immediately. That would have been funny.
And is this going to make Lana babyface
Never.
after 9 weeks of going through tables? I doubt it, right?
And then on Raw, she avoided being put through the table. Whoop-de-doo.
And I know WWE doesn't care, and they expect us not to remember or not care, but she has so much recent history of being not a good person in so many storylines, right?
The Bobby Lashley thing.
Right? Going back
just
that
even
far.
managing Rusev in general.
Even
like,
just her brief little tag team with Natalya, right? Were they not jerky heels?
Yeah, they were like being mean to Mickie James.
Right.
Right.
So, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to feel all the sympathy for her. It's really...
Because she gets put through a table. If anything, I think it's comeuppance.
Right?
For the whole Rusev storyline.
Do you almost root for Jax and Baszler?
I do, because I love Baszler.
I know, but
also
even if
because
you
I
didn't,
hate Lana.
just in a vacuum, if you watch that and you know what Lana's been doing recently, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like... I don't know, she's been just a general... She's just, been like a very not nice person. She's been a heel, like, basically her whole career, and especially as of late, like, through this whole year. So yeah, it's like it's really weird that
I was just listening to another podcast that was talking about, I think it was Way, and someone was filling in for John. I think it was Nate. And he was saying that her basic character is white privilege, right? That she just keeps failing forward. She doesn't do anything good, but she gets promoted just because of the way she looks or the way she is or who she knows or whatever, right? She doesn't actually earn any of this position on the
she's
show.
another example, like, because remember we were talking about Jade Cargill, that they'd probably just hired her because she looks good, and, like, she has no talent. Her only talent was managing Rusev as a heel.
She was great doing that. Honestly, that was a great act, the two of them together, and then everything she's done since then, but it's like... But she'll keep getting another chance, and it's going to be a prominent role, and it just doesn't seem fair because there's so many other talented women there.
Yeah, I was watching,
no offense,
I remember
Lana.
a long time ago, a top 10 woke culture video of, like, people who keep getting chances, like, take a Viscera, for example, or Mabel. You had, like, Mabel in Men on a Mission, then he won King of the Ring, that failed, so then he became Viscera, and then that failed, and then so he became World's Largest Love Machine Viscera, that failed, so then he became Big Daddy V.
I think Vince just falls in love with certain people, right? Like big guys and
Big Daddy V.
and leggy blonde women, it seems like, are his weakness, and he'll just give them a million chances.
Remember the Stacy Keibler segment when she debuted?
So then we get to the main event.
I wasn't even born.
Right, the main event. This is the big match. This is Roman Reigns
actually pretty
versus
good.
Drew McIntyre, and this is about as main roster as it gets, right? Like, you've got just two guys that Vince is gonna love because they're big dudes, pretty athletic guys for their size. I have to say, man, this was my first time seeing Drew McIntyre with the sword, and my reaction was to laugh, and not in a good way because it's not supposed to be funny, but it looked ridiculous and it made me laugh.
It wasn't great,
but that being said, man, this was a really good match, I thought. It started out a bit slowly.
It almost felt important because these guys both, in my opinion, even though Reigns has only had been strong really this year since August, but they both had, like, strong, like, mostly strong of a year.
Oh, yeah. McIntyre's had an amazing
more so
right?
McIntyre, and then Reigns has just had an incredible resurgence in recent months, right? So they both just felt like... this really felt like a clash of the titans, right? Like, two truly the best of both brands going head to head. Like, they had the best of the best tagline, and I think that this match is a true representation of that. Honestly, because I think McIntyre was on a roll, and Reigns is in, like, the prime of his career. I think he
almost makes me watch main roster.
Right.
That's how good he is right now.
He's the same amazing in-ring performer he's always been, right? I don't think...
but he's nailed his character now, right? He's
I don't think his
wants.
in-ring talent has ever been in doubt, right?
He's a very good big man.
Right? And it's just his character was the thing that was missing, and now that is here, and Reigns is in full force. I think both of these guys are in the best time of their career, so it was the perfect time for them to face off.
And Reigns doesn't need Heyman, but it still adds a little bit, right? Like,
right, because he can... cut kind of the scathing promos about being the head of the table and, like, whatever, and then like you got Paul Heyman to do other stuff.
And some of the stuff I love Heyman's doing when I do watch clips of this and whatnot is his little facial reactions, like, he doesn't even have control of Roman, right? Like, there's nothing he can do.
Similar things with Brock too, right?
Yes,
like he'd be like, Brock,
it's that little bit of I'm his whatever what's the term?
Advocate.
But I really have zero control over these monsters, right? I'm just hoping to stay out of their way and sort of
be in their good books.
You're right. So, and opposite of the women's match, this one I did know who was going to win. I thought there was basically zero chance that Drew McIntyre won.
No offense to Drew, but Roman Reigns, I think, is in the prime of his character.
And I still thought this match was awesome. So these are the types of athletes that this company is going to focus on. And these guys seem like they deserve it.
Like,
and I think
bigger guys that can actually do stuff, though, right?
Yep.
Like,
I think this was a really good match. I thought a very strong, about as good a main roster main event as I think I'm going to get, probably. So I was pretty happy with it. Then we get, well, I guess this was the real main event, maybe, which was Undertaker.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Undertaker retires.
You know what's funny is I was asking why there's so much left in the show.
Yes.
Because you record extra, but, like, I'm just talking even before that. And then I was like, oh, yeah, the Undertaker thing.
So he retires in what I'm going to say was an incredibly boring, anticlimactic way to honor a legend.
Yeah, like, this guy is one of the greatest legends of
full disclosure
all time,
I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah,
I talk about it here. I'm not a main event WWE or wrestling generally fan.
But I think Undertaker has had, like, plenty of good matches, though. I think
of course I respect him, right? Like, and he's had some amazing matches.
Yeah, I think You know what's weird is before he entered, they had all the legends come out to the ring, right?
Yeah.
And then
Which took
you come back from
forever.
commercial. Yeah, and then you come back from like the commercial or whatever. They're not even there anymore.
Right, so they traipse them out, and it takes forever, and then they play a highlight package, and it
Yeah.
takes forever.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
And then all of the people that you just watched walk in for 20 minutes or whatever it was
Yeah,
are
they're
gone.
not even gonna greet the Undertaker there. Like, I would have liked that better. I mean, I still wouldn't have enjoyed it too much, but it would have been better now.
Undertaker speaks for 30 seconds. We get a Paul Bearer hologram, and we're out, basically.
Yeah, he goes like, I am retiring. Like, the way he speaks is so slow and methodical, not even in a good way.
I bet you he's not actually done, and this is maybe why this is so lame, because you don't think he's going to take that Saudi money if they're like, hey, man, we'll give you $8 million
You want to have
to
another
wrestle a
crappy
match.
Goldberg match?
Or like I think I've talked about before, they've now sort of mastered is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, these cinematches where Undertaker can just do little bits and they can record it and rehearse it and do cuts and retakes and stuff, right?
And
So
it can prolong his career. And
I don't
who
think
knows? He could do something good, but I doubt it.
I don't know if it'll be good. I just don't think he's done. But
mean,
I thought
yeah.
this was not good. I don't.
If it was a legitimate retirement, I would still not have liked it, but
It
I
might
would have
be.
cared a little more.
I'm not saying for sure. That's
No,
just
right.
my feeling.
But
And
like, there's just that everlasting feeling that you're just like, this doesn't feel like it's legit.
it was boring. Like I have no other way to describe this other than this was. I fast forwarded a bunch of the entrances, right? Because I just couldn't do it.
About the Godwins.
So, and I think part of it is I'm not an Undertaker fan, right? Like he's good and he's had great matches, but he's also lucky enough to be given one of the greatest gimmicks of all time.
Right,
You're gonna have
and
a gimmick
you
where
can
you
always
get to
have
know.
that person that you don't like, but like you like their matches. Maybe
I respect his work,
right.
But he also kind of got lucky, right? Like, hey, we're giving you a gimmick where you get to no sell and you get to take a beating for an hour and then sit up like nothing happened, and you get to summon lightning, and you get to like, it's a pretty sweet gimmick to get, and good for him for making it work. But anyways, good for Undertaker. It was boring. Overall, this show, I think you can tell by going through it, right, was a mixed bag for me. I thought
Agreed.
the championship matches, not that they, but I mean the matches involving the champions, other than the Zayn Lashley ones, were all good to excellent, and everything else I thought was lacking. So I'm not sure the point of traditional elimination matches. So here's my idea. I haven't really thought about it too much. But what if kayfabe, there's $1 million prize in each match, right? And it's to be split among any survivors. So I don't want to say every member of the winning team gets it, because I think if you say only the survivors gets it, it adds a layer of, especially on a heel team, right? Like maybe now you're going to wait and hope not tag in because you want that guy to be eliminated because you want that extra $250,000 or whatever. It would add some built-in motivation, and it could add all kinds of little storylines and wrinkles and things, right? And I feel like $1 million is enough money that people would behave differently to get a larger share of it, right? So let's say it's a team of 5. So all the Raw guys this year would have gotten 200,000, right? But if a couple of them had gotten taken out, maybe you're getting $500,000 or the full $1 million. So it might change how things go. I don't know.
And then maybe Lana would actually have a reason to celebrate being
And
sole
it seems
survivor.
kind of realistic, right? Like that. There are purses, what's called, in fights where people get money and winners get more
Or
of
like,
the money
I
than
would
losers.
say like you get a title. Everyone would get a title shot if you win, but then like maybe if you're a survivor, you get priority of a title shot, maybe, because maybe that might be a little more kayfabe.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
They just need some sort of stakes.
Well,
right?
yeah, like
because right now it's
prize.
just stick people together and here we go. So and they
Because
just
like Braun Strowman got mad about Adam Pearce putting him like last in his WWE title plan, but like maybe if Strowman hadn't survived, maybe then that would make sense. Like, you know what I mean?
So
Something like that.
So to recap, you picked Zayn wrong. You picked SmackDown in the women's wrong. You picked everything else right. And I don't know if I mentioned it. I picked everything right on this.
Shush mouth. No one cares.
So overall, I gave this show a B-. It's watchable.
That's
but
fair.
there's tons of stuff you could easily miss, especially the Undertaker retirement at left.
Boy.
Like, and that's one of the annoying things. We went from me feeling great about a really good match about 2 main event guys, right? And then this dragged me down big time. So a B-, watchable, but nothing to run out and go see. Sound fair?
Yep.
Okay, so
That was a handful.
that was not a turbo review. I apologize. It was less turbo. Although then I think about like Devin, he's driving the truck. He said more hours the better. So he's not worried if the show goes long. And since he's the only one that contacts us, he gets what he wants. The rest of you want to send us an email?
He's
FNS
prioritized.
Wrestling at gmail.com. We'll
Or
take your
FNS
questions.
_wrestling_podcast
Right.
on Instagram.
Contact us. It'll get you on the show.
Yes.
So let's get into AE Dynamite, right? Review?
AEW.
Sorry. Wow, I did. Oh, man, I haven't done that in like 7 or 8
and then
weeks.
now you do it.
AEW Dynamite.
Good job.
Spoiler alert. I love this show, so let's get into it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So first we get an interesting match in Hangman Adam Page versus John Silver.
Which right away, my first note is this should be a good opener, right? This
Yep.
Hangman is like the...
Just the reputations of both these guys, right?
Yep. I was excited.
Yep. So Silver offers a fist bump, which Hangman doesn't want, because that's probably wise, given that John Silver is a heel.
Right.
Holds and counters. That's just going to be like my standard first line, so everyone should just expect it by
We
now.
both do it.
Yeah.
Mine is sometimes there's reversals in there too. It summarizes that.
Sometimes the one I've been adding lately is shoulder tackles.
It summarizes that beginning of every match where there's that battle for control, right? And
yeah. Sometimes some matches are more technical than others. But.
For sure.
So forearm by Hangman, corner chops by Hangman, big back body drop by Hangman, corner chop by Silver, forearm exchange, snap German suplex for 2 by Silver, which looked nice.
Yes.
Hangman hits his usual springboard clothesline. That is when Silver's on the apron. Both miss dives, and then Hangman hits the slingshot crossbody he attempted the first time.
Yep.
A sliding lariat as John Silver is seated for 2 by Hangman.
I think I'm a sucker for these sliding lariats. They look cool. A lot of people are doing them lately, and
For
I
some
like
reason,
it
I
every
wrote
time.
sliding lariat for 2 by Hangman for 2.
And you wrote lariat. I like it because clothesline is impossible to type for some reason. Go ahead.
I managed to get it usually.
I don't when you're when I'm in a
Hangman
hurry.
catches a crossbody, hits a follow slam, kips up, and hits the running shooting star press for 2. Silver counters a buckshot lariat into a Hurricane Rana for a 2 count,
Looked
which was nice.
Quickly, yeah.
And then a German suplex, super kick, brainbuster flurry for 2 by Silver, which I know you enjoyed.
His little bursts of like sudden offense.
And I think that's
together.
what makes him so cool. He's such a small guy, but then, like you said, they don't put that down as a weakness, and then you just don't expect it. But then he comes out with these bursts, and you're just like, what just happened?
And I love it. So he ends up taking a bunch of offense, and then just boom, all of a sudden he strings together.
And then he's in control,
and
right?
his kicks look stiff too.
Yeah, stiff chest kicks by Silver as Hangman's asking for more. Hangman fights back with some forearms. Silver hits a forearm of his own. A backslide roll through, and then a kick combo by Silver, and Hangman retaliates with a big clothesline. A deadlift sit-out powerbomb follows for 2 by Hangman. A buckshot lariat for the win by Hangman. To end the match.
I pretty much love this
wins.
match. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is like almost the perfect opener. Fast, crisp, cool offense by both. Page clearly has to win here, but Silver looked really good. And
it's not going to really hurt him because it's not like he's being mega pushed right now.
And he continues to impress me, right? And again, no discussion of his height being a barrier. In fact, they find ways to mention how it's to his advantage, right? Still, every week they do
Yeah,
this.
like they were talking about, I think, at one point, the center of gravity for like the German suplexes, which I think is smart.
And even just wrestling a guy who is a completely different shape from everyone you wrestle, right? He's still heavy, but he's very short, so it would present some issues because you're just not, you can't practice against that, right? It's not a body type that you're used to having to wrestle. Right. I don't think it hurts Page by this being so competitive, as Silver seems to be slowly being built into respectability at least and beyond.
Like maybe a mid-card champion.
I thought this was the perfect length for an opener. It had great action and it had the correct results, so I honestly love the start of this show.
Before I give my opinion, I'll just cover the post-match stuff. No, that's fine.
I jumped in there. Got excited.
That's fine. Evil Uno cuts a promo, says they aren't here to attack Hangman, says he and Hangman both have some regrets. He says the Dark Order are here for Hangman, and Hangman knows where to find them, just kind of leaving their recruitment open.
Uno is like half the size, eh? Have you noticed that? And looking cool. There's something about the suit and mask combo that I love.
Yeah.
And he's dropped a ton of weight.
Really?
And we're suckers for him because we saw him at Indie Show and they had an amazing match.
And he's pretty cool.
They're really cool. So I thought it was funny because Elite is sort of recruiting Hangman, right? And he talks about the Elite is like a cult. He says, because even when you try to leave them, they won't let you, which kind of makes sense, right? Because it's not really sure, is he out, is he in, sort of thing. And then it's funny because that's coming from the Dark Order, which basically is a cult, right? So I thought that was a cool line. Uno does a really good job on the mic, and I've said it before.
I like him as like their spokesperson.
And it's weird because he can get emotion and stuff through with a mask on, and I think that's a skill that not everybody would have, right? Like it still comes through and you can't see the guy's face. So I think he's really good.
Right, it's not like Lucha Bros, for example, where they have like their mouths open, right?
Yeah. And I don't know, Dark Order just exists in this little weird space in AEW where they fit perfectly and they're entertaining, but also...
I think there's such, like, it's not, they have a big group, but it's not like the NWO where, like,
no.
You have way too many people, because you have, like, Brody Lee could be in the main event, and then John Silver or, even, like, Stu Grayson could be in the mid-card. Like, you have so many potential spots for all of these members.
Yep.
And now they even have a female member in Anna Jay, right? So if AEW wanted to, they could position members of Dark Order all over the card.
And they sort of walk this line of, like, entertaining but serious.
Yes.
Almost enhancement talent but not. You know what I mean? They kind of, like, can fit whatever situation you need to put them in.
Which is
they can
an
work.
Asset, right?
Yep, I think it's cool.
So what I thought this was a fun opener that, again, had a predictable outcome, but Silver didn't look bad in defeat.
No.
And, in fact, he got some amazing offense here,
He
which
did.
I really liked. And I really like these matches as a way of rebuilding Hangman after a major pay-per-view loss. Because it was a good match for Hangman against a good opponent, but Silver's not quite on the same level as him, right? But he's not a bad wrestler either, right?
Yep.
And this honestly reminded me of that match he had with Kaz.
Yes.
That you really liked.
I loved it.
I just think Hangman needs to do more of these stellar matches, these good openers against other mid-card or lower-card guys like Silver and Kaz that get him wins in some good matches, but they don't look like total squashes, right?
This is super nerdy depth, but he's like he's almost the perfect like TV match wrestler lately.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be like he can have an amazing match in whatever 8-9 minutes, whatever they give him. And he seems to be able to work with everybody, and he's a mixture of speed and power. He can work any style, right? Like this guy's a star, man.
Yeah, and I think this...
And you love his theme.
Yeah, yes, I do. I think this method that I'm talking about will give us an enjoyable short match each week, and it will help rebuild Hangman so that he's ready for the main event whenever they need him, right?
And he can even give a lot of offense to a lower card guy, if you want to call
and
Silver
not look
that.
Weak.
Because right now part of his storyline is that like he maybe doubts himself sometimes, right? So that could almost play into the fact why if he just didn't have any self-doubt, he would kill John Silver, but part of his character is he's never quite sure.
Yeah. Maybe if he was a little more ruthless, he'd destroy Silver.
Right. So awesome start to the show.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I just wrote good match and both guys look good.
Yep. Loved
I really
it.
liked it. So next we had a Kenny Omega interview, and he's asked about Mox being attacked last week. And Omega says he has had a lot of time to reflect after an uneventful week last week. Obviously with Mox being attacked and the contract signing not really ever finishing.
Right.
He says the more things change, the more they stay the same. Says things changed as Mox is now on the magazine covers. But after the Eliminator tournament, things stayed the same as Omega was talked about once again.
Yep.
And Omega tells Mox not to bring any weapons or anything, prove that he is a better wrestler against Omega. And then he walks away, but then comes back and says Mox's childhood story last week was lame, and his dad would beat up Mox's dad, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that was a really good ending line, just kind of silly heel, whatever. I don't know, man. I'm maybe just a mark for this show this week, but we have been critical in the past, but I love this. I think...
Yeah, another good Kenny Omega heel
The
stuff.
Omega heel character, he's got the full suit. He's got the aviators on now. I also like that he is trying to manipulate Moxley into not doing his strongest match type, right? Like he's doing the whole, don't use weapons and things, fight me in a real match.
Yeah, you think you're the better man.
Because that's where Omega excels, and Moxley loves all of the violent stuff, right? So he's trying to manipulate Mox into not choosing a violent sort of match type. Which is
clever.
Which I like. I like this subtle, calm heel who's, it's like he's aware of the internet and what wrestling fans talk about too, like all the PWI stuff in his intros and all that stuff. It's like his character is almost like
which almost helps.
He's
right?
the heel wrestler aware of the internet community, which is kind of different for mainstream wrestling, and I really like it. And I think it's kind of polarizing because not everyone I listen to is really enjoying Omega right now, but I, not gonna lie, I love it, and I'm actually excited to see him with the belt because I think it's time, and I think
Mox
this
has
character,
had a great run.
This character as champion, I'm on board for.
Yeah,
so
and I think Mox has had a great run. So
he has.
A loss wouldn't be the most surprising or hurtful thing for him.
Another segment I loved on this show so far.
Yep, 2 for 2.
Yep.
Next, we had a quick Darby Allin vignette and says, Team Taz survive if I let you, then burns the car.
Yep, he actually said a couple words this time, which he doesn't always, but it's the standard thing, and I'm still not sick of this.
I really like Darby Allin, so
me too. And
I liked it.
It's unique. It's not like there's anything else really going on like this, right? So, yeah, cool camera work. Another very Allin style video, and I still enjoy them. They're short, they're visually interesting, and then they're gone.
All right, so then next we have Lee Johnson, who's going to lose in a squash match to Will Hobbs.
Is. Yep.
They call him Powerhouse Hobbs now. I hate this so much.
So
Why?
It's bad. I don't know.
Why would you do this?
And we said, why wouldn't it be Will Power Hobbs?
Yeah, because his thing says willpower on his singlet.
And then it would be willpower, which is a thing. I don't know. Anyways, it's better than Powerhouse in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's just like, this seems like a WWE thing to do, to give them a stupid name.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. It's weird. It seems out of character for AEW to me.
So yeah, he's Powerhouse Hobbs now.
So what did you think of the match?
So tackle by Hobbs, tosses Johnson out of the ring, big clothesline, tosses him in the barricade, world's strongest slam for the win.
Yeah, I thought even though Hobbs was dominant, I thought he could have looked better, right? Like there was nothing where I was like, oh my god, he killed that guy, and that's kind of what I was hoping for.
Right.
So it was fine, and it gets him over as an evil powerhouse, but I didn't think this was anything special for sure.
Yeah, I hope they develop his character more. Yep, so then we got a Taz promo.
Yeah, we did.
He says he has business to take care of and sends Hobbs away. Taz says the FTW title is a problem because AEW aren't recognizing it. Said he is fed up with Team Taz being disrespected. Says he won't leave the ring until someone from management makes the title mean something, and then his mic is cut.
Yep.
Grabs Justin Roberts' mic, who's the ring announcer, says if this mic is cut, he'll use a headset, which he knows won't be cut, which I think is smart because he used to be a commentator.
Right. And that's what he's saying. I know how it works.
And he just knows a lot about the business anyways, right? So it's just like, I know you're not going to cut that, so either let me use this mic or I'm going to be using your commentary mic.
Yep.
So then the mic is cut again. Cody comes out. Cody asks Taz what he's doing. Cody says he's wasting time. Cody says he gives Taz a match, which is him and Darby versus Hobbs and Starks next week. And Taz says he doesn't care about that and wants respect for the FTW title because he's saying they'll just win again, right? But then they'll just be disrespected once again.
Right.
So then Cody says he'll run up the flagpole, and then Taz says Cody will just say something like creative law, nothing for him.
Right.
Which I think was clever.
He starts spouting all the classic WWE lines, right? You got nothing for me, or good luck in my future endeavors, like all the things WWE's known for saying to people.
Yeah, and then Cody says if FTW means so much, then why is Taz's son training with him?
Ooh.
And then Taz says that was stupid, tries to get the Taz mission on Cody, which he does, and then Gunn and Club make the save. And then Taz walks away with his son, I think his name is Hook.
It is Hook.
Which is weird.
Well, Taz is from Red Hook.
Oh.
And, well, at least that's where he used to be introduced from, so I don't know if that's real. And then also, hook is like an old wrestling term, right? Like, they'll hook ya.
Yeah.
What did you think of this?
I thought this was a pretty good promo, but it went a little long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good throughout, though.
I loved it. This Taz playing this cranky, miserable, never happy, complain about everything. Here's an obscure reference, Canadian television. He's like Oscar from Corner Gas at this point, right?
Yes.
Like, he's going to yell at a cloud
Hell
if it goes by. So I thought this was awesome. It makes sense from Taz's point of view, right? This title that's his and he's brought here, that it's getting... And
he's like saying stuff like, it has a legacy, and it does if you're an ECW fan, right?
And I just think it's also giving his group sort of focus because they've been kind of drifting a little bit lately, right? So it's
but that's like part of the focus almost, right?
Adding something to it. I thought his delivery was amazing here. Angry Taz, I think, is great. And I think Cody coming out, it was funny, I put here that Cody comes out in his executive capacity because he has a headset on, right? So that's the indication that this isn't wrestler Cody coming out. This is executive Cody coming out.
Which is good because then it might not be as dramatic.
I thought the interaction between the two of them was really good too. This was another segment that I was like super engaged in and very much enjoyed. So This show's killing it for me right now.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I thought it was pretty good. And just like I said, slightly too long for me, but I thought it was still good because Taz is good at what he does.
Yeah, he is.
So then we get a quick Eddie Kingston interview. Says Penta's now his former best friend. Says he's not going to spend too much energy on this, and he's not mad. He's just disappointed. He says Phoenix was a showboat and did a bunch of flowy stuff and was a show off and whatever. So he expected it from him, which I thought was a funny insult. Then Mox interrupts and says, and it's just staring him down. And Kingston's like, says to Mox, you know it wasn't me. And then they both got their own stuff to handle. I was like, Kingston. I like that Kingston knew what it was
Without
right?
Mox saying a word.
Right, and
I agree.
And Kingston's just like, you know, I didn't do it. I got my own stuff.
Referring
to
to
do,
who took him out at the
Right.
contract signing last week, right?
Right, and I thought that was just really clever. But I liked this. It was just a nice short segment. Just chugging this Death Triangle, Kingston's fam storyline going along, and then also furthering Mox's attacker storyline,
Yep.
which you made that Hangman theory, which I still really like.
I thought, well, I didn't make it. I heard it somewhere.
Oh, yeah, but
Did you
told
talk
me.
about it last week?
I think so, maybe.
I don't remember if we did.
No, I don't think we did. So do you want to explain that quick then?
So that basically, with the way Mox was lying after the attack.
It's like in a figure four, so like
did you
his
look
leg
up
is
to
straight.
see if that was accurate? I didn't again.
What? I didn't.
So
Wait,
that
what's his
basically it
thing?
was almost like his legs were in the shape of the letter 4.
Yeah, like the figure four for like, I don't know, like when you do a figure four leg lock.
And apparently in a deck of tarot cards, the character or whatever, the image with that leg position is the Hangman card. So somebody's maybe reading way too much into it, or that's some really cool hint that they did. I forget. I would give credit because it's kind of cool.
No, it is.
I honestly can't. It
It
is. You look.
is.
He was lying that way. You
Well,
just
yeah,
looked it up.
he's like upside down on a tree, but like yeah, his legs are like that.
Yeah. So quite possible, right?
I think if this was WWE, I would say someone's reading way too much in this.
But
this is
AEW, there's a chance, right?
They trust you to be smart, and honestly, I think this is, given that it's AEW, I think this is a very possible situation.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't give credit to whoever it was. I listened to far embarrassing number of podcasts, so I can't say for sure.
But I think whoever came up with that is a genius.
Yep.
And I think AEW is probably smart enough of a promotion that they might go with this. Like, this might be what they're planning. And if they do, I think that would add an amazing piece to Hangman's character. I'd love heel Omega and Paige. I think that'd be kind of cool.
It is fun to think about, right?
Yeah, and I just think it'd be really good.
Yep.
I just think it'd be so smart.
I thought, getting back to the Kingston, anytime he speaks, it's going to be good.
Right.
It was a good promo. I also really liked, that Mox walked out, and as you said, exactly what I thought, that they didn't even have to speak. Just the way he's looking at Kingston.
And how well they know each other.
Like, you know why I'm here. I also like that they keep that thread attached between the two, right? Like, I feel like, and I know I'm tough on WWE, but I feel like they would just, okay, your feud's done, you never... You know what I mean? Your paths never cross again until we
like
want them
another
to.
year when we need you to feud.
But I like that there's this dangling thread, right? They're still going to cross paths and stuff. They're working in the same small place.
And it's like they're always suspicious, like, you know, like that something's going to happen.
So I thought this was good. A couple of Kingston's lines weren't quite as strong as his usual stuff, but anytime he talks, it's better than like 90% of the world talking in wrestling. So it keeps Mox and Kingston in the same orbit, which I like. And Mox didn't have to say a word and furthered the mystery attacker angle.
Yep.
So I liked it.
Yep, me too.
Next.
Short and sweet, as they say.
Yep.
So next we get TH2 versus Top Flight. I like their TH2's entrance, just like, and Helico just looks really chill in his entrance.
Yep.
It's cool.
And can I just say, I know that Top Flight is known for obviously high flying, whatever. I wasn't kind of impressed by the mat work at the beginning of this. I think it was Darius in there.
Yep.
So, man, for them to be able to sort of grapple like that at the ages they're at, they're massive potential for these guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. So we just get a recap of what happened last week with TH2 attacking Top Flight after their match with the Young Bucks, and then some shenanigans that happened last night on Dark, or like the previous night. So we start with Darius, Martin, and Angelico. We got our usual holds and counters. Darius flips out of an arm drag, which looks pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Angelico shoves Darius and backs away into a corner to cause the rope break just to get the separation. Kind of a classic heel tactic there. Arm drags by Darius, and then Dante tags in. A unique tag move by Top Flight that I couldn't quite get what it was, but it looked pretty nice.
They do stuff so quickly this match, it's hard to keep up.
Another that targets the arm. So both of these moves are targeting the arm.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. Some leapfrogs by Dante, and then Angelico is able to evade the drop kick attempt that followed, and then Jack Evans tags in. We get a double team by TH2, and no picture-in-picture.
No.
And
none at all.
I shall talk more about this conspiracy later.
Yeah, it happened a lot.
Heel kick by Dante as we get back from our no picture-in-picture commercial break. We get a Darius Martin hot tag, clotheslines by Darius, corner uppercut followed by a top rope shotgun drop kick for 2 by Darius, corner chop by Darius, Dante blind tag, double team into a sit-out powerbomb, but Angelico breaks the pin, so Jack Evans is legal still. Enziguri by Darius, suicide dive by Darius, followed by the big tope con hilo by Dante on both members of TH2. A big top rope splash by Dante for 2. They called it a frog splash, but it was not.
No, it wasn't really.
Angelico tags in as Evans hits a springboard moonsault back elbow thing.
Yes.
It looked crazy.
Yep. One of his
The
signatures.
assisted standing 450 by TH2 for a 2 count. Classic by them right there. Dante reverses a crucifix bomb into a sunset bomb for 2. Crucifix bomb is like kind of like Razor's Edge.
Yep.
Evans and Darius evade moves, and Evans yanks him off the apron.
That looked hard, man.
And Angelico taps out Dante to the whatever death roll. It was the something death roll.
It looked cool, yeah. I had the death roll submission. I don't know if we caught that name correctly, but
it was the something death roll. So TH2 actually get the win, which I thought was surprising, but I don't mind that just because these top flight guys are truly rookies, so it almost doesn't hurt them because they look good in both of their matches, in my opinion. So
they did, and I thought I was sort of, as the match went on, thinking TH2 is going to win, only because like a couple of my notes are like no offense by TH2 yet, right? And Top Flight dominated, I would say, like 3/4 of the match. So it sort of felt like if they're not going to get a lot of offense in, they got to get something out of this match, right? So they're probably going to get the win, which they did.
Yeah.
And I think they're booking Top Flight smart, right? Because they're working against veterans who can work super fast and keep up with them. So they're sort of easing these kids into it, right? You get to work with young bucks who've been wrestling forever and are super quick and can keep up. And Angelico and Jack Evans, same thing. Super experienced, even though they're not on TV a ton. But they can work that fast style. So they're sort of taking care of these kids in their introduction, which is smart.
Yeah, and then also Angelico did not let go of the submission until Young Bucks make the save.
Right.
So we got that after Young Bucks being facey faces.
So I thought this was pretty good. There was a bit of sloppy parts, but that's going to happen, right? These guys are super young, but are gaining some incredible experience at working with some really talented veterans. So, I mean, they're just going to... the rate at which they're going to improve working for this company, it's going to be super fast, right? And they're going to be really, really good really quickly. So that's going to be exciting to watch, I think.
Yep. So get a quick Vicky Guerrero promo. I was talking about, she's talking about nepotism.
Yep.
And then she just talks about Velvet, Swole, and Deeb, who were coming Rhodes aid last week, I think it was, or a couple weeks ago, whatever, when Jade Cargill attacked. Talks about them being Rhodes' favorites.
Yes.
So it's just kind of saying that they're favorited by Rhodes, so then they were helping Jade Cargill for, I don't know. I didn't get much from this. It was okay.
I was asking why is Vicky calling out Brandy? Where's their connection? What am I missing?
Right.
Because that's what I was
sort of like. Why are they helping Jade Cargill?
I don't know that. Like, have we established a connection with Vicky and Jade Cargill? I didn't notice it, but I mean, I don't notice everything.
The 1 week she debuts and then she's stomping Brandon Rhodes' arm in a chair, and then Vicious Vixens are blocking up the ref, and I feel stupid saying that name already.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. This was fine, I guess, but I'm not really interested in Nyla at this point. I think they haven't done much with her, right? They've been focusing more on the NWA women's division than the AEW women's division to a certain degree. So I don't have much interest in Nyla. It's not to say that I won't ever, but right now I'm just like, I don't know.
I never really did. Like, I thought she started out decent and thought she had potential, but then like she had a lackluster title reign and then ended up losing the title in not too long.
If she's properly booked as a monster, she could probably be pretty awesome, but I just feel like they haven't really done that, right? Like losing to Riho, right? To me, that's tough to come back from for her.
Right.
She lost to like an 80-pound woman, so it's hard
to... But then beat her later on anyways.
You got to reestablish as a monster.
Yeah, like why couldn't she beat Rio the first time?
Right. All right, moving on, because that wasn't worth talking about for too long.
No, it was not. Then we got a quick FTR promo. Another promo here, but this one was better. Cash says Full Gear was one of the worst days of his life, and then Dax admits the Bucks were better than FTR for 3 seconds, which I thought was funny.
I thought that was really... I made a note of that, too. I liked that a lot. Like, we are better than you, but... I would have suggested maybe like 6 seconds because I think it all comes from the decision by Cash to make the 450, right? So, but yeah, what they're saying is basically, and they sort of, not FTR didn't dominate that match, but they certainly got more of the offense in that match.
I think it was honestly one of the cases where it was their own fault for losing, really, with the 450. Which
it was
amazing.
That. So they were, I like that line a lot too. For 3 seconds, we admit you were the best tag team. and it was obviously the most
and Dax
important.
says just because the Bucks won doesn't mean they are as tough and as bad as FTR, which I think is a good line.
Right.
And Dax says he needs the tag team titles that's like necessary for them to have, And then Tully says it's their destiny to be champs again, tells the Bucks to fear the revelation.
Right. I like this. The only thing I don't love all the time is
it too.
I don't think Tully needs to speak. These guys can.
Dax has always been a good speaker.
I find is a really good on the mic.
And Cash isn't even that terrible.
Cash has improved a ton. I get it because they sort of fit together, right? They're the same style as Tully, and they've almost
but Tully's already managing Sean Spears, so he really doesn't need to be here.
So I mean, I don't find he adds very much, especially in the speaking part. It's cool that they have somebody come with them to ringside and stuff.
Just to reiterate what I just said, like if these were his only clients, I'd be a little more okay with it. But given that he already had another client, not only does he have another client, but he had that client before FTR.
Right.
And combine that with the fact that they don't need him.
Yeah.
He really doesn't need to talk or even be with them. I think he's there purely for most of their heel tactics, but even then they're pretty good at that on their own.
Yeah, and I'm okay with them being there. These guys, a lot of teams, I'm like, they need a mouthpiece. These guys don't.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
anyways, moving into SCU and Jericho and Hager.
Yes.
Which my first note was, I'm not looking forward to this, hoping it's quick. Just because, I mean, I'm usually finding Daniels is a bit past it.
But all I'm going to say before we start is this exceeded my expectations.
100%. And that's why I wanted to point out that I wasn't looking forward to it. Because at the
me
end,
neither.
I'm cool with it. But anyways, go ahead. Talk about it.
So we start with Jericho and Daniels, arguably the two oldest veterans in the match, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
Arm drag by Daniels, holds counters, and shoulder tackles.
Nice.
See, there's the new one there.
Nice.
See that a couple times this show. Shots by Daniels and Kaz. They kind of ping-pong Jericho back and forth a bit, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yep.
Kaz tags in. A double team by SCU for a quick 1 count. Jake Hager tags in. Body blows to Kaz in the corner. Jericho tags back in. Quick tags by the inner circle, which is always a good tactic.
Yep. Classic.
Yep. A classic as well, yeah. Chokes Kaz on the ropes, does Jericho, and then Hager's back in. Hager's distracting the ref, and Jericho attacks Kaz. Kaz tries to fight back, but Hager temporarily cuts off the hot tag, but he gets it anyways, and Daniels is back in. He hits some clotheslines, usual offense, and then enziguri by Daniels. Clothesline to the back by Daniels for 2 on Hager, which looked pretty cool because he just kind of charged him, which you got to do when you're trying to take down a big man like that.
That's right.
Forearms by Daniels. Santana sweeps the leg of Daniels when the ref's not looking. Big slam by Hager, his usual kind of big man slam. I don't even know what to call it, but it looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Jericho and Hager distract the ref as Inner Circle gang up on Daniels when he's sent to the outside. Hager tags in post-commercial break, which I don't think I picture-in-picture either.
It did not. I made a note.
And everybody's favorite move. Chinlock.
Chinlock.
And then rib shots by Hager. Jericho tags in, and a flatliner by Daniels. A hot tag out to Kaz. Clotheslines and a drop kick to Hager. Offense on both opponents from Kaz. Kaz takes out Ortiz, who was on the apron, falls with a slingshot crossbody on Ortiz to the outside. As Kaz gets back in the ring, Jericho attacks, but Daniels tags in, and a suicide dive to Hager by Daniels, which I know you liked.
I did.
It did look pretty good.
It
to
did.
Be fair.
Daniels looked quick tonight.
Yep.
And I'm critical of him.
Top rope crossbody by Daniels for 2, and then a clothesline by Hager as Hager tags in. Flatliner by Daniels.
I thought looked good, like a diving flatliner.
Yep.
Yeah.
A BME by Daniels, and Jericho breaks the pin. Isn't he? He did like he's on the second turnbuckle and then he jumps up, which you're supposed to do. But like, isn't he facing the person when he's on the middle rope and then he spins around and jumps, kind of like what Lacey Evans is doing?
Yeah.
I think that's what like there's a BME in 2K19 and that's what it is. But anyways, still look good. MJF gets a cheap shot with the ring on Daniels while ref is distracted. The Dynamite diamond ring, I think it is. Judas effect by Jericho, and Hager makes the pin to get the win for the Inner Circle. And Hager and Jericho win. And Kaz hits MJF, and then Inner Circle beat him up, and Sky runs out with a steel chair to chase away the Inner Circle.
Yeah, I didn't love Sky coming out because I thought they'd
There's so many dudes, right?
I just thought they'd sort of distance him from SCU because at some point I thought, excuse me, they were going to push him as a singles guy, and I was kind of happy for him getting away from SCU, but I guess he's still affiliated. honestly, there was nothing wrong with this match, right? And I wasn't looking forward to it.
And I think there's just so many Inner Circle members now that I don't think they needed to run away, but whatever.
That's true too. I thought this was a pretty good match, and Daniels specifically looked really good to me because I'm pretty critical of him, having lost a step or two, but he looked pretty good here. There just wasn't, this isn't really building to anything, right? I don't find 3 of the 4 participants super interesting right now outside of Jericho. Like, I'm not a Hager fan, but the match itself was pretty good. I can't really say too much bad about it. It was an enjoyable TV match for me.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised here, which is always good, right?
Yep, absolutely.
You always like to see it.
Love to see it.
Yep. All right.
Now
next
your boy.
We got, Kip Sabian and Miro debut a video game segment, but stupid Orange Cassidy interrupts. And I noticed Kip had the Xbox Series X. My boy got the new console. Good job.
Yep.
Best friends ambush them outside a brawl, and then towards the end, Miro grabs the cameraman and he's like, "Move out of the way!" And I thought that was really funny.
And then it was basically done, right?
Yeah, and I thought that was really funny though.
I'm wondering if AEW is aware, like I'm sure they are, that most people are really not enjoying this video game inspired feud. So I wonder if they almost did the whole like they're going to debut their video game segment as like a little bit of trolling to the fans, right? Like, oh my God, really? They're giving them their own segment? Like, this has been my least favorite feud. And then it's like, nope, we're not actually giving it to you. So I kind of like that part. The rest was just okay. I'm glad.
I thought Miro was pretty funny at the end, though. I'm
glad they did cut off the video game segment because I really wasn't looking forward to that. It's prolonging a mid-card feud that I don't really care about. So this was one of my least favorite parts of the show, but it wasn't awful. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. The direction these guys are going in, I'm not a fan of. It's nothing personal against them. I just don't like what they're doing.
You, if he's at an indie show, I'll be like the only person super happy to meet Kip Sabian.
You never know.
But I think he'll be happy about that.
Yep.
So we get announced a Diamond Battle Royal next week at the Winners Coming special.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's for MJF's ring.
Is it for that ring, or are they going to produce one every year?
It might be for MJF's ring. I don't know.
So he's going to have to give it up? Interesting.
Hoping for clarification there.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Interesting.
Kip Sabian's in that match.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we get Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, the contract signing.
Take 2.
Part 2. Yes. Kenny Omega's entrance gets the Omega intro again. Broom dancers again, and then I wrote in brackets, boo.
And it was kind of like, my note was that Justin Roberts' announcement was sort of saying the same thing, but multiple times about, I think it was his Hall of Fame induction, right? In the PWI Hall of Fame. And it was sort of like saying the same thing multiple times, which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
those
and so
intros
as
are
the
awesome.
broom dancers were dancing and doing their dumb thing, Omega's doing the thing where you see a shadow behind the wall or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you see someone else's shadow appear behind him, which I thought was really cool. And it's
unmistakable who it is, too, just by the way he's standing. It was really well done.
And I thought it was just like a really cool visual. So he attacks him, and then as they go into the ring, he hits a paradigm shift on the AEW World title, which was cool.
Yep.
And then as Omega's basically out on the ground, he cuts a promo. He calls bull crap on the gentleman's agreement and says whoever Omega hired to take him out did a crap job. And I'm thinking he didn't hire anyone, probably just with the Hangman thing.
Yeah.
Probably didn't hire Hangman. Hangman's just like, I want to be friends still.
Right, because he's still trying to sort of keep that bond with... He's not the one that's fully done with Omega, right? Omega's done with Paige. So this could be the insecure Paige trying to get back in the good books with his friends. And Paige is even
willing to give Omega the title if it means like then they're...
The only problem is now if they don't give this to us, we're going to be disappointed, right?
I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
But I thought the idea for the silhouette and the attack behind it was so simple but so smart, just a different way to sort of do things that are done all the time in wrestling.
Right, instead of him like coming through the crowd, the same shtick every time, he did something really funny.
I thought this was a good segment. Mox, as always, is really good.
Yeah, and so then he said he thought the feud was over last year after their Lights Out match, but then now Omega pissed him off and says they're even now after last week's attack. Mox says the only way Omega will win is if he digs down deep and unleashes the Kenny Omega everyone thinks he is.
Right.
Which I thought was cool. It's like the Kenny Omega you are, no, like the Omega, the best bout machine that everyone thinks he is, not that he is, which I thought was a bit of a clever play. And it's still
kind of putting him over, like people love you and you could be this good, but you're actually not. So it's an insult and a compliment at the same time.
And Mox says this is no game, this is no BTE, this is the real deal. Then he signs the contract, match is official for next week.
Yeah, I thought this was good. Mox is excellent, and this
Agreed.
built their match, which I'm already excited for, and if they can build it a little bit more, then even better, you know?
Yep. So next we got a Chris Jericho interview, and MJF is super pissed.
Yeah, he just
after
takes
getting
over the interview.
Yeah, and Jericho's also mad after a clean win, he said, which was
Right.
not true at all, but
No.
I think that's funny.
Of course.
And Kaz hit a cheap shot, says the Inner Circle is back to beating people up, and Jericho versus Kaz next week, and he points the bat at the camera at the end.
Yeah, short and sweet, I thought, but
I thought it was kind of funny. Yeah,
I'm not thrilled that it's prolonging an SCU Inner Circle thing. Inner Circle should be above it, in my opinion, but again, I trust AEW, and they've got to do something, so
I mean,
this is what they're doing.
They impressed in the tag match,
They did.
So I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll do it again.
Yep.
So again, Anna Jay versus Hikaru Shida package. Anna Jay said she's different than the last time Shida beat her, and she's not the same goody two shoes rookie. And Shida says her knee's fine after the match with who was it? It was Nyla Rose, right?
I think
the
so.
Pay-per-view. Yeah, it was. Okay, I
So
forgot for a second.
I found this package a bit weird because it shows you like this footage of Tay Conti and Anna Jay being like best buddies and all this normal stuff. So my question is, they're still buddies even though Anna Jay is like in an evil cult, and they're still like, and she's trying to recruit Tay Conti, but she's okay with it, and they're still buddies even though one's in a heel faction that's a cult and one's like a mega babyface. So I found this a little bit confusing, but anyways.
And Jay says the last piece of the new Anna Jay is the women's title, and then Shida says Jay needs more heart, not the title.
Right.
And this is okay.
Yeah, it was something.
Probably along with the Vicky Guerrero thing, one of my low points of the show.
Yeah, Shida didn't have much to say, right? And it was, I don't know, I was confused by the Conti Jay.
I think she'd probably be stronger in her own language.
Yeah, of course she would. We talked about it last week. I went on a little, not a rant, but I
forgot.
talked about it last week.
Talked passionately about it?
I did, yes.
We'll say.
So then we get the match.
Then we get, Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay for the AEW Women's Championship.
Yep.
Jay is accompanied, of course, by Tay Conti. They kind of shove back and forth. And then we get holds, counters, and shoulder tackles.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had holds and reversals, so we're close.
Nice. Early Queen Slayer attempt by Jay, which is that sleeper, basically like the choke sleeper or whatever.
Yeah, pretty boring.
I like the name, though.
Yeah.
It's avoided by Shida, though. A tilt-a-whirl backbreaker by Shida. Drop kick by Shida. Jay blocks a running knee on the outside. Jay sends Shida into the barricade and then into the apron. And then we go to commercial break, and I just wrote, JR is a dirty liar.
No PIP again. That's what I have.
No PIP. They don't want to give it to me.
It's weird how it's not consistent, right? Like some weeks we get it every time they say we will. Some weeks we get it sometimes when they say we will.
And then
this
sometimes
week was none.
JR lies to my face
Every time. 5
times a week.
Yep.
Or,
he does.
Yeah, or however many commercial breaks there is. That's how many times he lies to me.
Yep.
Anyways, a slow heel kick when they're on the apron by Jay.
I have very slow J kick. Yes.
Yeah.
It was like at half speed. It was weird.
Yeah. Jay asks Conti for a steel chair, and as ref takes the chair away, Silver tosses Shida's kendo stick to Jay.
Right.
And she uses it to hit Shida's weak knee.
Right.
Which I thought was cool.
Yep.
Queen Slayer submission by Jay, but Shida gets out. And Jay reverses suplex into a near fall. Straight jacket German suplex by Shida.
I'm a sucker for
and
those.
then followed by the Tamashi knee strike for the win.
Yep.
And Hikaru Shida retains the title.
And
I just
then
wrote, I hate the women's title. Abaddon crawls out on the stage, and Shida's totally freaked out, as she should be. And then Abaddon licks the belt.
Yeah, that was a little disturbing. I don't know that.
Maybe on purpose.
Oh, of course. But yeah, effective for sure.
I hate that belt.
Like,
so
do you know how many germs are on that thing? What are you doing? It's a global pandemic. You'll be licking belts.
She is a monster. So.
But yeah, her look is amazing.
So this sets up Abaddon in the main event, which I wasn't expecting.
Me either. I'd heard that somewhere in a rumor somewhere that she was next sort of to come through. I thought this match wasn't bad, but it was nowhere near the NWA women's title match from last week, right?
Oh, yeah, true.
Jay's not ready, in my opinion, but that's not a problem because she's been wrestling for like 5 minutes. So for the amount she's been wrestling, she's terrific. It's just she's not ready for this kind of exposure.
Yeah, she needs to just be polished a bit, maybe some faster kicks.
Great look to her, and she's obviously got a strong foundation. They just got to build. She's going to be fine. It's just she's not quite ready for this, in my opinion. I'm a little nervous because I don't remember Abaddon being awesome in the ring. but I only saw her once or twice, so maybe I'm wrong.
And Sheeta might be able to carry her. We'll
But
see.
her character looks incredible. She's very creepy and disturbing
I wonder
looking.
what she looks like in normal.
She looks like what so many wrestlers in the past have kind of tried to do, in my opinion. She actually looks a little bit terrifying, so I'm interested to see her anytime. I just hope she's better than I remember in the ring, but we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe she'll be like a Bray Wyatt with good character, but
Yep.
not the strongest in the ring.
Yeah, it could be.
So we get Matt Hardy promo. He's wearing a suit. He's talking about some inspirational stuff. It seemed like the Big Money Matt character or whatever.
Is very similar.
I think he should be called the $1 Million Matt.
It's a very sudden heel turn, but I'm okay with it because he does a good job with
He
these.
could be
sometimes.
like cocky with the win, you
Yes.
know? And I think it'd be funny if he's called the $1 Million Matt.
And I thought it was funny when he puts the fans down by saying like, all of the things I've overcome, and he's kind of like, if you in your should be inspiration because in your pathetic, meaningless lives, the little unimportant
Right, and that's
crap
what made me think this because he's
Yeah.
wearing the suit. He's got his hair all
Yeah.
like, all neat and whatever. Like really, just like, and the way he was speaking felt like the rich entitled character.
Yeah, I don't need to see him wrestle really that much anymore, but he like this character could do really well with. So I was fine with it. Is a very kind of sudden, hey, I'm a heel this week turn, but I'm open to it. We'll see where it goes.
So we get the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal next week. We already know that, but just recapping the things they're telling us.
Yep.
Jericho versus Frankie Kazarian next week. Darby Allin Cody Rhodes versus Team Taz next week. Starks and Will Hobbs.
Will Power
week.
Hobbs.
Yes. And then Team Taz quick promo. Stark says Cody crossed the line after the Hook comment.
Yep.
Stark says Cody cut Taz's mic because he didn't want to be reminded of his loss last week, and he crossed the line with the insult. Again, he says that.
I enjoy that the tiny guy is the mouthpiece for the bigger two guys because that's how it should be in this case, 100%.
And Starks is great. I really want him to win the TNT title. I want a lot of people in the TNT title.
Cage got one line and it still wasn't great. You sound like me. You care more about the mid-card stuff sometimes.
A little. It honestly, for me, depends on who's in it. Like, with guys like Mox, Page, and Omega in the main event scene, I do really care about it. But just, like, I think there's a lot of people like Starks and Kip Sabian.
Yeah.
Where, like, they're good, and, like, I think they have their championship material, but not necessarily main event.
Yeah, I've always wondered what in my childhood made me gravitate towards the mid-card, especially
I think it's
mid-card
because
heels.
so many people can be good and can, like, be material for mid-card champions, but, like, not everyone can be main event.
Well,
right?
in WWE, once you're a main eventer, it's just the overexposure. I think I start to get annoyed, right? You're going to get a 15-minute segment at the beginning of the show.
Right,
You're
and
gonna get a
AEW might
20-minute
be different, though, right?
You're going to get a 20-minute segment at the end of the show, right? I know I'm going to just see you 3 times a show and it's going to get old.
Right. But with
anyways.
AEW, it might be different. I think they
Yes.
got a lot of better wrestlers, so I think it's easier to get invested in their main event. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of people I want to see with the TNT titles.
Fair enough.
Like Pac, Cassidy, Sabian, Starks. Yeah, that's it. But
Main
probably
event
more
time.
people. Yep. Well, then we also got a couple more things. We got Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch next week.
Yeah, Layla
which
Hirsch.
You'll like.
I will.
And then
She's
Mox
cool.
versus Omega world title match next week.
Nice.
So then we got our main event, which is Butcher and Blade versus the Death Triangles, Pac and Rey Fenix.
And I was talking to you about it, like, even though Butcher and Blade haven't won a ton of stuff, they've had a really good year, right? Like,
Yeah, just in terms of prominence.
in terms of exposure and
and
just
that Falls
who,
Count Anywhere match with the Bucks.
right, and who they're sort of working with and stuff. So they're an example of, like, you don't have to win all the time to have a really successful year in wrestling, in my opinion. Sorry,
Agreed.
go ahead.
I think they might have decent placing in the PWI's Tag Team 50, so
Yep.
I look forward to that, actually, just to see.
Yeah, me
because
too. That's
It's
interesting.
a new concept.
Pass
so
it over to me when you're done. I'll read it.
I will do that.
All right.
All right, so we have Eddie Kingston on commentary, as he is with any members of his family in a match. Butcher and Blade attack. We get a quick brawl on stage, but then the match starts with Butcher and Phoenix legal. Springboard dropkick by Phoenix. Simultaneous moonsault and tope con hilo onto the outside by Pac and Phoenix, which looked pretty nice.
Yes, they're so fast.
Crossbody by Butcher. Running crossbody, that is.
Didn't look as strong. Usually I love when he does
I
that.
remember when why did I say Kip? Killian Dane used to do it, the
Yes.
divide, and it looked always pretty cool.
And this one was usually it looks good when Butcher did. I thought it was a bit weaker here, but still, it's pretty cool.
Yep. Gut wrench by Butcher, and he holds him there for a second. Blade hits a drop kick, and then Butcher falls through the gut wrench suplex, which is a cool combo there.
It is.
Blade is now legal, and Phoenix gets the blind tag. somersault into a drop kick by Phoenix. Pac tags in, hammer throw by Pac, and I know, was the crowd clapping for Blade? Like, they were in like a wrestle, I think it was, and they were kind
You
of
did make a note that they're sort of cheering for the heels there, right? It seemed like a little bit.
Basically everyone's heel kind of here, right?
True.
So, if you really think about it. But anyways, we get a strike exchange, a kick by Pac, a lariat followed by a lariat by Blade, a hook kick followed by Butcher, blocking a springboard move by Phoenix. Phoenix does, like, his usual rope rebound hook kick.
Yep.
And
Which
Butcher
looked
just blocks
awesome.
a springboard move, which looked kind of confusing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Whatever. Thrust kick by Pac. As we go into commercial break, JR continues his web of lies.
Yes. Just to Canadians, I think. He just lies to Canadians.
Discrimination, bro.
Right?
Discrimination. Phoenix tags in after we come back. We get a stun gun by Blade, which is like a flapjack on the ropes.
Yep.
I think that used to be Steve Austin's finisher before he was
Oh my
Stone
goodness,
Cold.
really?
Yep, I believe so. I think when he was stunning Steve Austin.
Well,
remember,
he made a good decision to change to the Stone Cold Stunner, I would suggest.
imagine having to set that up every time.
Well, and the Stunner was just, you could do it on everyone, basically.
And it's just like so sudden.
Yep.
Okay. I lost my placing for a second. Alright, there we go. Butcher tags in. Wait. I don't know why I lost my place again.
It's okay.
Knee drop and a leg drop by Butcher, which gets him a 2 count. Phoenix was sent hard face first in the corner multiple times, which I thought actually looked really cool for some reason.
It looked like good, solid impact for sure.
Blade tags in. Phoenix avoids a suplex and hits a really nice handspring cutter. He excels at these springboard handspring kind of moves.
And just like not looking at things and hitting things amazing, right? Like with his back to stuff, he hits better moves than some guys hit,
just like
staring at people.
He's not always like having to check they're there.
It's
he
incredible.
probably like sees they're there once and he's just like, all right, I'm going for it.
Yeah, he's cool.
So Pac gets a hot tag, a kick combo to Blade, enziguri by Pac. Northern Light suplex for 2 by Pac. Pac rolls through after missing the shooting star, and Blade hits a nice scoop slam. Butcher tags in, a big lariat for 2 by Butcher. Blade tags back in, corner offense, and a fireman's carry gutbuster by B&B, Butcher and Blade.
Right.
Followed by a gut wrench powerbomb by Blade for 2, but Phoenix breaks the pin. Then Butcher sends Phoenix to the outside. Phoenix gets a blind tag, a kick combo by Pac and Phoenix, which looked really cool. Bunny distracts the ref, and Kingston trips Phoenix on the top rope, and then full death by Butcher and Blade for the win. And Butcher and Blade get the win here. We get a post-match attack. Bunny grabs chair. Eddie Kingston hits a DDT on chair by Pac, and then another one, and then music starts to play, and I was confused at first, and then once the song kicked in, I was like, oh, it's Lance Archer.
Right.
He just yeets himself over the top rope at
does.
Blade, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
Just because it looked ridiculous, and just like he was just charging on him. Takes out Butcher. Death Triangle fights back as Archer and Kingston brawl. Kingston escapes, and I just wrote Death Triangle loses their first match. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't clean, I guess, right? So
I guess
that's fine.
So I just wrote great main event, but a questionable outcome in my opinion. The attack after was whatever, but Archer confused me at first by coming out.
And then
but then it made sense because the Casino Battle Royal, Kingston was being an annoying little poop about it, saying he never lost, and then he got a title shot before Archer, despite being Archer the winner of it.
Right, because Archer was out for COVID, right? And Kingston got that shot.
But in kayfabe, right?
Right.
A good main event overall. Though it had good main event overall. Though it had 4 good wrestlers, so I don't think it was ever in danger of being a bad match.
Yep.
I really wanted Death Triangle win here though, but I'm not sure what happens now. As there's 1 or 2 things that can happen. Kingston, confused Archer and Death Triangle moves on and become heels, like mega heels, or they'll continue this feud with Archer kind of lingering, and either would be fine to me.
Yeah, I thought this was a good match, especially the final few minutes I thought were really fun. So Butcher and Blade kind of get a win that they can brag about, which I think is helpful to them because they don't win. Because like you said,
they've had a decent year.
Right, and the Death Triangle get to look strong, and they only lost by interference, so it's not a huge deal to me. And yeah, I think Butcher and Blade have had a strong year, maybe haven't won as much as they would like, so they get a win over a major team here, and I don't know, it worked for me. I thought this was a good main event and a nice end to a really strong show, I thought.
Yeah, I just wrote a good and fun opener, and we had some good segments involving Mox and Omega, and among others, so we had a bunch of good promos. The Darby Allin one was another good one. We had another good showing for Top Flight. Another tag match that exceeded my expectations was the SCU versus Inner Circle match. And a good main event topped the show off very nicely. The decent stuff was the Taz thing, which I thought was pretty good, but
I like that more than you for
a
sure.
little lengthy.
Yeah.
The women's title match was there.
It was
a decent Hobbs squash and an okay FTR promo were fine. Nothing stuck out, and nothing was inoffensive or nothing was offensive either, right?
So your grade?
And the one thing I didn't like was the two women's promos.
Fair enough.
Overall, I enjoyed the show though. I thought it was pretty good. Especially if you're just judging the in-ring stuff, so I'd give it an A-.
I also loved the opener, really liked the main event, loved the Taz promo, loved the Omega promo. TH2 Top Flight was good enough for me. The women's match was just okay. The contract signing was good. I thought this show just really flowed really well, and it feels like the star power was there again.
It had a lot of storylines running through multiple segments, which I think is a strong ability to have when you're booking a show.
And a few weeks ago, my complaint was, remember we ran down and we're like, there's no stars on this show. So it feels like the star power's back. I gave it an A- as well, really close to actually being an A, and I'm happy because I ended last week's review of Dynamite saying, like, when am I going to get my A-level Dynamite back, right? Because it had been losing, in my opinion, to, I think it's lost 3 weeks.
Maybe since that parking lot brawl.
I think 3 weeks in
a
row.
Close to that.
3 weeks in a row, NXT I've preferred, right? So, spoiler alert, it gets flipped back this way, the way it usually has been, which is...
but another spoiler, NXT wasn't terrible.
This was a really strong show. I really enjoyed it.
Nice, that's
overall.
good to hear.
So a couple A- from us. That's good.
Yep.
Almost an A for me. I'm not gonna lie.
That's good though. It's in the A range, so
absolutely.
That's not
go
bad
check
thing
it
at
out
all.
if you didn't. All right, so let's move into our trivia section where you will see what you know this week on Off the Top of His Head, and
where we shaved the hair off the top of my head.
So I went with, because we liked the Survivor Series stuff leading into Survivor Series. So
I just like the trivia stuff.
I know.
Fun.
So this time I delved into War Games trivia because War Games is coming up.
Ooh, this will be difficult, but I'm down.
There is some difficult stuff in here, for sure.
I'm down.
So, for starters, I think I have 15 questions. War Games, the concept was created by which wrestling legend?
Dusty Rhodes.
Correct. Nice. So there's no way you're getting this, I don't think, because I don't think you even know what this is. What was the inspiration for the match? It was a movie. I'll give you that hint.
War Games.
No. It's called Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, where basically there was this giant structure where people fight in, and they would chant like 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, basically. So I think that's where he got the idea. All right, so this one's easy, and just for people that aren't War Games fans, I want you to talk about quickly, but detailed as well, the format of the matches, i.e. how do they work?
Okay.
And then my response is, Jack will talk.
Okay. So there's 2 rings, right? They're connected in the middle by this steel grating kind of thing.
Yes.
So then a big double cage will enclose it. The WCW version had a roof. Our current version does not, but either works. I honestly prefer without a roof, so then it leaves it open for some dives and whatnot. Sure. And so basically how it works is, so in WCW they had like a couple teams of like multiple people. It was like 4 or 5, and the first NXT one had 3 teams of 3.
Right.
And the previous few for NXT have just been 4v4. So that's how it's been working recently.
Multi-man team matches.
Multi-man team matches in a cage. And so two men will start off, or 1 from each team, let's just say.
Yep.
And I think it's like a 5-minute timer, and then another person will enter. So, for example, last year, Adam Cole beat Dominik Dijakovic in a ladder match for the advantage. So then Undisputed Era would have their man enter first, right? So usually there's a match to determine the advantage, right? So then temporarily it's almost like a handicap match, right? Is. And no falls. The match can't end until all the competitors are in, so no pinfalls or submissions until everybody is entered. And so you keep having alternating entrants from the teams until everybody's entered in the match. And once the match starts, you can't exit the cage, or you forfeit your match for the team, and first team to gain pinfall or submission wins the match.
Very good. You are well aware of how it works.
And usually the last entrant usually goes to grab weapons before they enter, which I like. Okay.
That is all correct. War Games was originally used as a specialty match for which famous faction?
Dungeon Doom?
No.
4 Horsemen.
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So I know this is interesting because here we go. How many War Games matches, you won't know this, did the 4 Horsemen compete in?
7.
16.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Okay, so...
Wow, that's interesting.
So knowing that they're the the number one group in this.
Uh-huh.
Which legendary wrestler has competed in 19 War Games matches and, fun fact, has been the first member of his team to compete in all 19?
Ric Flair.
Nope, right faction though.
Arn Anderson.
Correct.
Really?
Yep.
Arn.
So he
Nice.
started 19 times. That's crazy. So
Wow.
the first War Games
That's
ever
crazy.
took place at which pay-per-view?
Fall Brawl?
Nope. Do you know the year at least?
No. Let me think.
NWA pay-per-view.
Great American Bash.
Correct. 1987. Do you know what this is just a bonus, it's not part of the official trivia. Do you know what they called the match?
No.
The War Games, the match beyond. Right?
That's stupid.
Okay, so you didn't know that, so this is going to be a bit of a guess, but you do know who's been in the most of these matches, and it would have been around this time. So who were the participants in the first War Games match?
Ric Flair.
Correct.
Arn Anderson.
Correct.
Tully Blanchard.
Correct. Who's
Barry Windham.
Nope.
Ole Anderson.
Nope.
Magnum TA.
Nope.
Sting.
Nope.
Lex Luger.
Yes. I was
Really?
going to say Sting's buddy. Yep.
Lex Luger.
Versus who in that era? This is obviously going to be a straight up guess for you, and I won't
Sting.
No. So it's a tag team.
Vader.
A tag team, current wrestler's dad, and then another guy of that area. Famous tag team, recent death.
Road Warriors.
Correct.
Dusty Rhodes.
Correct. And Nikita Koloff. I don't know how to lead you to that one.
I know who that is, though,
All right.
but I forgot.
So in 1990, and that's why I was thinking, because War Games isn't a WWE thing, really, so I was wondering how much of this you would get. But if you don't get any, it's a learning experience for you, right?
Yeah, and I know a bunch, but...
So in 1998, WCW decided to try something different and converted War Games into a 3-team, 9-man competition.
So that's what they did in the first NXT one as
With
well.
the same cage and entry format, but they allowed pinfalls for the number one contendership to the WCW World Heavyweight title. Can you name the 3 teams and any of the members of them? So 1998 WCW.
Hulk Hogan?
Who was a big deal? Correct. Team Hollywood consisted of Hulk Hogan.
Scott Hall?
Nope.
Let me... Butcher. Or, like, the Disciple.
Nope. Canadian man.
Chris Benoit.
Nope. Bret Hart and Stevie Ray. So then we have...
Roddy Piper.
Team WCW consisted of
Sting.
Roddy Piper. Nope.
Lex Luger.
Nope.
Vader.
Nope. DDP and the
Goldberg.
the Warrior.
Who's
And then
that?
Ultimate Warrior.
Oh.
Then you have Team Wolfpack consisting of
Sting.
yes,
Kevin Nash.
yes,
Scott Hall.
no.
His
His name came up already once.
Scott Steiner.
Nope.
Ole Anderson.
No.
Lex
Luger.
Luger.
Yes.
Dang it.
War Games 2000 was the last of this type of match until 17 years later. What was the tagline for the 2000 War Games match? Because it has a guy's name in it.
Shall we play a game?
No.
Uh,
It has a guy's name in it. Think of somebody with a giant ego in the creative world.
Hulkamania.
Russo's Revenge.
Oh,
I think you'll get this one.
that's stupid.
What was unique about the cage structure in the 2000 War Games match? You didn't get this
Didn't have a roof?
one. No.
It did have a roof.
No.
It was a triple-decker cage.
Yes. I thought you'd get that right away. The 3-tiered cage.
That's what it was?
Yeah. At least in my research here. My not so deep research.
I knew that was a thing, but I didn't know that was a War Games. That's weird.
War Games came back in 2017, so this is where you're going to start to crush. What company held it? Who competed? Who won? Go.
WWE NXT held it. Takeover War Games 2017.
Sure.
So Undisputed Era was the original 3 members: Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. Then we had Roderick Strong and A.O.P, Akam Razor. Then we had Sanity, which was Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane. Adam Cole won with the last shot to Eric Young with the chair.
Very good. So this one, I don't know if you know, but you might be able to figure it out just from the question. War Games inspired which current WWE specialty match?
Ooh.
Think what's similar. Cages, timed entrances, etc.
Elimination Chamber?
Correct.
Huh.
And I think you'll...
Well, Elimination Chamber was... Well, I guess because WCW would have gone under a little before Elimination Chamber.
This...
Eric Bischoff did come up with it. Okay, I was just trying to figure it out.
This one you'll know.
Okay.
First women's War Games took place when and who competed?
Last year.
Correct, 2019. Who competed?
So it was... Let me think. I think it
Ooh,
was Team Ripley,
correct.
which was her, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox, and Dakota Kai.
This is
Dakota Kai
Kai's
did a heel turn,
awesome heel
so it
turn.
was just Ripley and LeRae. Then it was Team Baszler, right?
Yes.
Which was her, Io Shirai, right?
Yep.
Bianca Belair,
Yep.
and Kaylee Ray.
What a stacked team that is, eh?
Right?
Baszler, Shirai, Belair, and Kaylee Ray, who
That's sick.
you never see but is awesome. Okay.
And Kaylee Ray was the UK women's champion at the time.
She was. Last question. I knew this would be a tougher one because it's not WWE and it's not current, but you did pretty well. So last one, and I don't think you might know this. ECW, so not the WWE version, had their own version of the War Games match. What was it called? And I guess how was it different?
I don't know.
Ultimate
Please tell
Jeopardy.
me.
And because
I've heard of it. Then.
Because it's ECW, what would it involve? The use of what, probably?
Barbed wire.
Weapons in general.
Oh.
Obviously. All right, so
Interesting. I didn't.
not your strongest performance, but you learned a lot.
Yeah.
And you dominated the current stuff.
Too.
Good. All right, so that wraps up that section and will bring us into our next review, which will be our NXT review. The show starts this week with the recap of the Balor brand Undisputed Era Brawl from last week.
The show closer.
Yeah, and the Regal announcement that came shortly after that they will compete in a War Games match.
It's predictable, but like, who cares?
Yeah, it's fine.
I like it, so.
Candice LeRae is already in the ring with Indy Hartwell, and
like
Kevin Owens
finishing her entrance, yeah.
Kevin Owens is on commentary this week.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Advertised last week.
Right. Candice LeRae versus Ember Moon is our opener, and I was optimistic that this would be a good opener because both of these women are very
Maybe
talented.
similar to LeRae and was it Moon and Kai? I think it was, right? Yeah, it was.
It was, yeah, which was awesome, I thought.
Right.
So Candice escapes to the ropes several times to start, and she has a quick conference with Hartwell on the outside, but Moon hits a running kick to the face. Moon chases LeRae and hits a modified side effect. I didn't quite know what to call it, but that
probably like if it's like a side effect, it's probably some sort of Iranagi.
the last half of it looked like a side effect. The first half was more like almost like a power bomb, I think. Anyways, Candice gets slammed hard face first onto the announce table. I thought looked pretty good, and Moon takes out Hartwell with a running forearm outside. LeRae gets caught coming off the ropes, and Moon delivers a fallaway slam. LeRae escapes, and Ember goes and chases her down up the ramp sort of thing and brings her back, but LeRae uses that opportunity to take control as they re-enter the ring. We get a neck vice to a seated Ember Moon. She escapes in a pin attempt exchange, sort of. They battle back and forth with pin attempts until there's a big kick from Moon. Suplex blocked and an inside cradle by LeRae for 2. Clothesline by LeRae for 2, and she's getting frustrated at that she just can't quite put Ember Moon away at this point. Back elbows by Moon and a hair pull to the mat by Candice LeRae, heel tactics. We get corner tackles by LeRae, but she misses a running move in the corner and takes a suplex with one of her legs trapped. I don't know if that's the best explanation either, but
Do you mean was it like fisherman or like?
it wasn't, because I would have known that. It wasn't quite a fisherman's. But anyways,
I don't remember exactly,
Me
so that's
either.
why I was asking. But
Insigiri from the outside by Moon for 2. Kai and Gonzalez then are shown sort of walking down the ramp. We get a chin lock by LeRae after the commercial
yeah,
break.
you know what's funny about that? So I see shadows like, and I knew exactly right away it was them. And then they put the spotlight to show it was them. I'm like, I already knew it was them.
Yeah, it's tough to mistake them for somebody else.
More
in
so
NXT.
Gonzalez,
of course,
but
and just the difference.
I could see Kai too.
The difference between the two, right? You know who
Yeah.
it is. So Moon escapes and hits a head scissors and a near fall. We get a nice transition by LeRae into a Gargano escape. Moon tries to escape, but LeRae nicely switches. I thought this was another cool transition into like a sleeper hold up on Moon's back until Moon falls backwards to escape. We get quick kicks, a corner attack, and suplexes by Moon. This is a cool little part of the match here. Hartwell's in, and she takes an eclipse, and that allows LeRae just enough time to hit the wicked stepsister on Ember Moon for the win.
That's still a funny name.
Yeah, Storm comes out to help Moon against the heels, and they head back to start a fight in the ring with the heels. But as Moon goes to slide in, Storm grabs her, and
Pulls her back out.
pulls her back out of the ring.
I thought it was a really cool way of doing it.
It was kind of cool. Attacks her and sends her into the ring to be attacked by LeRae, Kai, and Gonzalez as Storm watches.
Some of Storm's facial expressions really irritated me.
Oh, really?
First, some of them are really weird and confusing.
And it sort of ends with Gonzalez hitting her like
Powerbomb thingy.
Yeah, chokeslam powerbomb thing. So yeah, we got a quick.
They call it just the one-arm powerbomb, I think it is.
A quick heel turn from Toni Storm here. I thought this was a good opener. It's a really quick build to a War Games match, it feels like. I have no problem with Toni Storm turning, but
I think that's a pretty decent heel squad, not gonna
it
lie.
feels a bit rushed though, because it's not like
Yeah, true.
we really haven't gotten to know her as a babyface, right? So it's just kind of, it's not quite as dramatic as I think they want it to be. It feels like it was
I
sort
think
of.
aside from Toni Storm, I mean, we'll see how she does, but like, it's a decent heel squad.
It is,
think.
yeah.
Not as good as last year.
Just
so.
felt a bit rushed turning her this quickly to get her onto this team to sort of fill out this squad. I've really enjoyed Ember Moon in ring since she's returned. I just wish that other parts of wrestling
And another thing
improved.
about the Toni Storm heel turn is that when you say it's rushed, it also is weird because if it's because it does feel rushed, they didn't need to do it. Hartwell could be on the team, and that'd be good exposure for her, and it'd be like a multi-person match, so she might, even if she's not great, she wouldn't look too bad, right? Like,
Yeah,
so.
I imagine they're going to use her for some sort of interference or handing in weapons or something. Seems to be the standard move for the people on the outside.
There is always weapons in the match, which I'm not complaining. I
No.
like it, but
yeah, it's fine.
It's just like what they do here.
So we get Undisputed Era now are shown arriving at the building, and I feel like anytime they show outside, you either have to be in a car or pulling luggage. Those are your two options for
or coming out of a car or pulling luggage and then getting into a brawl.
Right. So it's got to be a vehicle or luggage.
Right.
If it's filmed outside.
Right.
So we get a little discussion here with Legado del Fantasma all sitting together in a room, talking about how this has been their year. Their careers have taken off, and they've taken out everybody. And then they list Atlas,
I'd
Ashante.
say more so Escobar's career, and even then, like,
Yes,
they could have handled their rise better.
so Atlas, Ashante, and Swerve are who they list here. They're the talk of the wrestling world, and they wonder who's next. And then they mention Kurt Stallion, which was exciting for you. I liked
another guilty pleasure
the idea of this, I guess, is the best way to say it. I don't think them listing the names of people they've beaten as evidence that they're amazing. That's not an impressive list of people, right? Like you're listed Atlas, Ashante, and Swerve. And
Ashante used to be a jobber. I think the only impressive one is Swerve.
And he's only slightly impressive, right?
You're right.
And Atlas hasn't done anything. So
in fact, he's jobbing out later.
To use those as your specific evidence for being a dominant faction, I don't think is the strongest argument. But I've always been saying I want them to do something more with these guys, and this is them trying. So
there's the
fine,
effort, at least, right?
At least that the effort is there. I still don't really think we learned anything about this group. I kind of want to know more like, well, what are you guys doing together? What's your motivation? What are you fighting
other than
for?
Like the Lucha Heritage
Which
thing? But like,
is
how
no
are you
longer even
right? And how are you gonna execute that though? Right.
Right. So
maybe we need some more explanation here.
They got a bit of a screen time and promo time, but not exactly developing their character as I would like them to. So it's sort of mixed emotions for me on that one.
Agreed.
Undisputed
I was not a huge fan.
Undisputed Era make their entrance and head to the ring. We're shown a clip of McAfee's podcast where he talks about Dunn's going to beat somebody on NXT and that McAfee won't be there. So Undisputed Era then speak to us. Basically, they haven't been killed and the brand have not taken over the show, despite what they might tell us, right? Cole says they did get a dose of their own medicine, sort of, because they're it's like the brand is sort of doing the Undisputed Era thing right now, right? So, but McAfee is a coward and couldn't even show up tonight. In 2 weeks at War Games, McAfee will be in a match and the Undisputed Era, a match that the Undisputed Era have made famous in NXT. And then the others,
which they only won once. Sadly.
The others sort of get there. That's why he probably chose the word "made famous."
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
The others in the group then get to talk about how fun it is to beat up the brand. But tells them to focus tonight because this match is for the advantage going into War Games. They need someone to fight. Dunn and O'Reilly volunteers, and no one objects. So Dunn will fight an angry Kyle O'Reilly that took out Finn Balor, basically.
He did do that, but he also kind of got taken out as well, but
that's besides
the point.
How'd you feel
I
about
thought
this?
It was pretty good. It's a decent job of setting up the main event and also hyping the main event, but just your kind of standard Undisputed Era spiel.
I thought it was a lot longer than it needed to be, and
that's how I felt about the Taz
seemed
thing.
A bit rambling and maybe not as prepared. And Undisputed Era it's true of almost everyone, right? They're not as cool as a face as they are as a heels. But Cole is always
there's potential.
Cole is always solid on the mic, so it wasn't bad. But I didn't think it was good necessarily either.
Fair enough.
Candice LeRae is backstage, and as I'm going through this, I'm thinking about it. I'm realizing she's all over this show tonight, right? Candice LeRae?
Yep.
She's backstage and is asked
Not
about...
necessarily a bad thing,
No,
I
it's
guess,
not at
but-
all. Just a thing.
Yep.
And is asked about Tony Storm. She quickly consults with Gonzalez and Kai and then announces that they and Storm are a team. And Storm says she told us that we'd see a new Tony Storm, which I guess she did, and I guess we are, so good for her.
But that's kind of a lame explanation, if you ask me.
Yeah, I thought this was really nothing. It was just a quick confirmation that they are a team, and I'm wondering, is there a chance that Tony Storm's a double agent at all, do you think?
That's actually not a bad idea.
Like she's actually still a face and she's just infiltrating
Because she doesn't seem like good at either, but...
And it was just a really sudden, like, I'm heel now, right? Sort of thing.
Hey guys, are we cool? Right? Yeah, we cool.
So, I don't know. It's a possibility. Who knows? I don't care that much, to be honest. It was just something that came into my head.
Yeah.
Then we get Timothy Thatcher versus Kushida. And it's funny because I think pretty much everyone on podcasts and internet that I see and read feel the opposite we do. They love Kushida and they don't like Thatcher, where we like Thatcher and don't like Kushida. So we're weird like that, I guess.
That is insanity to me.
So Ciampa slowly walks out dragging a chair as this match is about to start, and he sort of sets the chair up at ringside and sits down like he's going to watch the match. We get lots of mat work to start obviously between these two guys. This is what you're going to get, basically a lot of submissions and grappling.
From Thatcher especially.
Yeah.
Well, and Kushida does do it a lot.
This is basically this match, right? So we get a belly to belly by Thatcher and he grabs Kushida's leg. Kushida reverses and applies a chancery with, I think, like a death lock to Thatcher's legs as well.
Yeah.
Thatcher escapes and hits some uppercuts. We get the cartwheel dropkick by Kushida, but Thatcher
it's
catches...
It's basically like what Young Bucks do, except one person.
Yeah. Cartwheel dropkick by Kushida and Thatcher catches his springboard kick attempt. A strike exchange in the middle of the ring, and Kushida reverses a butterfly suplex into a Kimura. Counters by each until a backslide by Kushida and a series of kicks while holding Thatcher's wrists, which I thought was pretty cool because obviously there's nowhere for the guy to go when you're holding both of his wrists and just kicking him.
Yeah.
Hoverboard attempt, but Thatcher sort of resists and fights it off. Thatcher then applies a Kimura of his own.
Which is basically the same as the Kimura, or the hoverboard lock.
And they struggle on the mat. You get lots of submissions and reversals here. Thatcher sent over the ropes and outside, and Kushida follows him out. Thatcher hits the ring post, and Kushida hits an armbar takedown on the floor, which I think looks kind of cool, especially when it's done on the floor. It's just a simple move, but it looks like it would hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Back inside with kicks and uppercuts, and a double underhook suplex is executed this time by Thatcher. Kushida gets his hoverboard lock applied kind of suddenly out of nowhere, and Thatcher taps out quickly. Thoughts?
I thought this was an alright match. I think it's just furthering the Ciampa Thatcher feud that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like Kushida, so this match was okay to me, but nothing super interesting.
That's one thing I'm kind of proud of us because I think we made a good point, and I haven't heard a ton of other podcasts after we did ours. I listened to theirs, and I think only one other podcast of the many I listened to pointed out that, like, what we said, right? That Ciampa the week before was calling out like the exact opposite people that Thatcher is. He was calling out the people that talk tough and haven't actually done anything and
Theory and Dream,
right? So it's like the opposite of. Anyways, we were one of the only ones to talk about that, so I thought that was a pretty good point by us. This match for me, I can't handle a ton of this style of wrestling because this is basically almost all holds and reversals, and there's really nothing with any impact, right? Like there was a belly to belly, there was like some strikes and stuff. There really isn't any impact moves, but when it's mixed in occasionally, I do enjoy it, right? And I kind of like this change of pace.
And it is a decent show of skill in some matches, right?
I just can't watch it all the time. Like I can't watch a full card of Zack Sabre Jr. like folding guys into pretzels and stuff. But if it's one match on the card, for sure I can get down with it, right? So I don't really understand the result here, as it doesn't make Thatcher look strong going into his feud with Ciampa, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kushida doesn't really have anything on the go.
And it wasn't a super strong win for him either.
So I don't think he needed a win. I feel like Thatcher kind of needed a win more here, right? Because I don't know. Or is this feeding into Ciampa's thing like he hasn't accomplished anything? He can't even beat Kushida? I don't know.
I guess.
But it's serious Kushida, so who can beat him, right? Nobody.
Right. He's wearing jeans. He's unstoppable.
He's wearing jeans, absolutely. If he had the knee pads over top.
Oh, dude, he'd be undefeated. He'd have a Goldberg streak if he had the knee pads.
It's all that's stopping him.
Yep.
Then we get a Ripley Io Shirai recap from last week. and they sort of take turns talking a little bit in this pre-produced package. Io says that Ripley was her greatest challenge, and Ripley says that Io is tough, so that's like respect, obviously.
But I think Jon Moxley does a more natural way of putting people over.
He does.
But
Ripley still can't feel her arm, and the table destroyed her back, and Io is still champion. She doesn't like Io, but she respects her, and Rhea doesn't know where she goes from here, sort of thing.
This is just kind of setting up Rhea Ripley has a promo later that they advertise.
Right, and they know that the internet, including me, was talking about this looked like goodbye for Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I
right?
don't mind them acknowledging that there's actually stuff happening in the world, so that's actually not a bad
They're kind of working
tactic.
in, everybody's talking about Rhea Ripley's future and where she's going, so she's going to address that tonight. And I thought this was a cool segment that made both women look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it showcased their awesome, really physical match from last week too, right?
Yeah,
there was clips of that
really
mixed
good.
in. All right, so backstage we have Pete Dunne actually talks a little bit, and he says he's going to break.
It wasn't even terrible.
He's going to break the Undisputed Era spirit tonight, and then he'll finish the job at War Games. No, super sweet, right? Like, we don't need Dunne saying much. He just looks cool.
Yeah, he never needs to say a ton.
His
right?
looks say more than most people's talking, so this was just very short and sweet.
Yeah, agreed.
Then we get an episode of the KO show, and KO is
I thought this was just a little bit of a spoiler, but I kind of enjoyed this. Like, I thought it was pretty good.
So I was going to say he's one of my favorite main roster talents, but I don't love his use here. Anyways, we'll get into it. I thought he took away from it a little bit for me, but we'll talk about it.
I kind of liked it.
He starts out by saying he'll always come to NXT when he's invited. He obviously loves NXT. He was very successful there. It was like his beginning to his career in WWE. So he's got like a soft spot for NXT, and will always
who doesn't
return.
like NXT?
Yep. He welcomes Leon Ruff out. So they're going to have a seat and chat. KO just basically gives the floor to Ruff and says, tell your story. And he says he always wanted to be a wrestler, and he signed his contract with WWE 7 weeks ago, and now he's a champion. And then KO goes to cut to a clip, and it's the clip where the belt is falling off of him at the end of the match last week, and Ruff is embarrassed. So I don't understand. Is Owens a heel? Is he mocking him? He calls him out to tell his story and then shows the most embarrassing clip possible. I don't know. I didn't get it.
Me neither.
I don't know what KO's... Is he face?
I thought it would
heel?
at least be the pinfall.
I felt like KO was just here amusing himself, and usually that's good enough for me. I find him super entertaining, but I don't know. I didn't like it here for some reason. Anyways.
I thought he had some funny bits, but I know what you're saying.
Ruff actually does seem starstruck here in a little moment, sitting like, this is Kevin Owens, man, and I thought that was pretty adorable, right? He honestly seems like he's like a giant wrestling fan who signed a contract less than 2 months ago, and he's sitting here with Kevin Owens, like probably somebody he's looked up to forever. So it really
because Kevin Owens was a famed indie star before NXT, right?
And it really seemed like he was starstruck here, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it felt genuine, right?
I like the line where he said this title is a yes for every no that he's gotten in his career, and he's trying to inspire other people that people say they can't do anything or can't
I really
accomplish
like that
things.
line as well.
It was good. KO tells him he should be proud and that he needs to sound more confident. And then Ruff does. There's this weird little thing where he does say it with more confidence. He throws a chair and then he apologizes. Owens warns Ruff that by saying that he's... And
he
this
said
is
Johnny
what
Gargano.
This is what I didn't love about Owens too. He's going like, did you know that if you say his name, you're going to summon him, right? And of course,
Which
he comes out.
I thought was kind of funny.
It's like Owens read the script, or this is what always... You're just pointing out that this... I feel like he's pointing out that this is exactly the same as all of these always go. And I don't need you pointing that out because I'm probably going to notice it and be annoyed by it anyways, right?
Yeah, that was good. I thought it was kind of funny, though, in a way, but...
Yeah, I just felt it was... I was trying to pin down, like, what's the tone you guys are going for with this segment, and I don't get it. Because Ruff's being serious. KO started out sounding like it was going to be serious. Then he's mocking him with the video clip he shows, and then he's giving him a... I don't know. I felt that this was all over the place. I wasn't a big fan. So Gargano does come out, and he's angry. He rips on Ruff as Kevin gets him another chair. Johnny throws the chair, and Owens grabs another one. Like, even that, I don't know. I felt like his humor was misplaced in this segment. Gargano blames Priest for Ruff having the belt, and Owens again says, you've summoned Priest, and of course he has. Priest shows up. Priest says that eventually Johnny will realize that Leon is better than him. He's beaten Johnny twice. Gargano yells at Ruff and pushes him. Regal comes out and makes a triple threat match at War Games. Surprise, surprise. For me, this, like, you know how I feel about this already. This was way too long, and Priest wasn't good, right? Like, he did not sound good on the mic to me here.
He's been really good lately, so that was a disappointment for me.
But again, this was live, and he was having to talk a little bit more, so I didn't think he did a great job. They should keep his speaking roles sort of limited and maybe pre-produced. We all knew exactly where this was going, and I did not find it very interesting at all, even though Johnny was really good. And KO I generally love, and maybe there was a couple funny things here, but again, I just didn't get the tone they were going for. Ruff wasn't bad. It just wasn't a great segment for me. I love Owens, but the shenanigans here made this interaction seem less serious, and I didn't really know what the point of this was, other than they have a match, which we knew was going to happen anyways.
I definitely liked it more than you did, but you definitely raised some good points. But I thought there was a few funny bits, but some of the things were a little weird. I agree.
And yeah, because Owens was doing all the stuff that I generally love that Owens does, but I found it was misplaced here. I don't know, it just didn't work for me.
Generally, I thought it was all right.
Balor talks about last week, and he will prepare and fight the war. The champion works Wednesdays, is what he said, even though he hasn't worked Wednesdays recently that often. But anyways, it's a cool line.
Yeah, I do like his figurative speech.
Yep. Shotzi is welding things and being overly dramatic, and she needs to find a team for War Games. I actually thought it was cool visuals, and they definitely are trying different things with Shotzi, right? Even if all of them aren't great, they're definitely trying different stuff.
Well, I'm going to steal a line from Kenny Omega here. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I think it was a few weeks ago. She actually cut a decent promo the 1 week without any howling, shrieking, or demonic laughing.
Yep.
This had dumb sentences. Once again, her dumb Shotzi speak. The demonic laughing, then burning and welding stuff for no reason. Like it was.
Well, that's a callback to when was she doing that? She was.
I don't know.
Grinding something and sparks were flying everywhere. That was her a few weeks ago, I think.
Halloween Havoc. But I guess, I don't know. It felt really confusing. It was just boring. And I despise her so much. And God help whoever is forced to team with her.
Interesting. I don't feel that strongly, Shotzi. I think some of the stuff's kind of interesting, and they're trying different things at least.
This is a real step down from the decent promo of the 1 week.
Then we get Cameron Grimes versus Jake Atlas. This did not go where I thought it was going to go, but anyways, it wasn't a bad thing actually. So quickness is on display to start until Grimes sort of takes control with a German suplex and stiff kicks in the corner. We get a forearm exchange, a German suplex, and a big forearm by Atlas for 2. A big boot by Atlas, but Grimes hits his C4 type thing that they refused to give a name.
I forgot what I think I figured it was
really
called, but I can't remember.
And then immediately hits his cave-in for the quick win.
I mean, this was obviously going to be a squash match. It's Jake Atlas.
I didn't think, obviously, like he's been getting a bit more competitive with people lately. I was surprised at this, pleasantly surprised, because this is a strong win for Grimes, and there was no comedy element at this point, right? It was just him.
At this point.
Yeah, I had to add that in. It was just him winning a match, at which he should win, and winning it quickly, and his cave-in is a cool move. I'm surprised it hasn't existed as someone's finisher before, because it can really be an out of nowhere, right? Which are some of the coolest finishers when it's just like bang,
maybe
there
not quite as a catching move like the RKO, but like more of an out of nowhere move, right? Like,
and they need to protect it, right? When he hits it, that's a 3 count. I don't want people kicking out of it on a regular basis.
I'd say rope break.
So Grimes celebrates, and Loomis appears on the apron behind him, sort of pops up unnoticed there. Grimes is obviously scared and escapes. Loomis points to the screen, and I have where a combination of Loomis's drawings and Grimes' embarrassing moments play, which I thought was kind of an interesting idea and combination of things. Loomis, I didn't mention, he had brought a sack into the ring with him, and he unfurls a strap that was in this sack and sort of rolls it out in Grimes' direction, but Grimes says it's not going to happen. He's not interested in a strap match. So this is yet another match that didn't really matter on this show and was just to fill time until the real angle afterwards, which I feel like there was a lot of this tonight.
WWE does that a lot.
Yeah. It's nice to see Grimes get a clean win after playing a scared heel for weeks, but then he's right back to being scared. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's fine. So then we get Rhea is walking backstage and thinking she will address her future next. So then it comes back, and Grimes is now backstage, and he's asked if he's still afraid of Loomis, talking to Regal. He says he's not talking to Regal yet. He's not. He has just places to be. He runs into Regal now, and he's told that he will face Loomis in a strap match at TakeOver. Grimes asks why Regal hates him so much, and Regal says it's Grimes' personality, which I thought was a pretty funny, like, why do you hate me? Because your personality sucks, basically. So I think it's interesting. They keep finding matches, right, that suit Loomis's sort of slower style that he has. and I'm not a fan of strap matches generally.
And this is Loomis' second strap match in a year. Like, really?
This one, to me, it makes a little bit of sense because the whole gimmick or angle is that Grimes just keeps running away, right?
Right, but that's
so
what
that makes
Roderick
sense.
Strong did, too. And
It
it's,
is.
like, I think it makes a little more sense here, so then I just wish they didn't do it already this year.
Right, that's
But-
true. I love Grimes, and I haven't hated Loomis's in-ring work lately, so I'm hoping this is good, but I'm generally not a strap match fan, but this
I
one
like
sort of
the
makes
Daniel
sense.
Bryan Fiend one at the Royal Rumble. I think it was...
Well, yeah,
Oh,
and
it was actually this year, so...
Daniel Bryan can make anything work, basically.
Yeah.
So Rhea speaks in the ring and praises Io and has heard all the speculation about her future. So she tells us that her hug after the match with Io was about respect and not about her leaving. She's at NXT to stay, so I guess this is the big announcement. But Candice LeRae and Toni
But
Storm then
that
interrupt.
just could be her saying she wants to stay. Maybe she'll get pushed eventually to the main roster, but...
But I think for the near future
Well, yeah,
or whatever, at least she's
obviously.
here, it sounds like. LeRae says that Io, interesting heel logic here. Io beat Candice twice, but had help both times, whereas she didn't need any help to defeat Ripley, right? So I kind of like that. She says that all Rhodes does, and this is all Rhea does, and this is funny because this didn't used to be Rhea Ripley's character at all, but that all Rhea does is talk, 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 right? While Candice can talk the talk and walk the walk, and then as Gonzalez walks out perfectly timed with like a limp, unconscious
Kind
or
of like
near
what Ridge Holland did to Adam Cole.
exactly. Io Shirai over her shoulder. I thought that was a really cool visual, and that I told you earlier today, Gonzalez, in my opinion, has been booked perfectly in NXT, right? Never asked to do more than she can. Just slowly built, and everything she does looks really cool. So I'm a huge fan of her, and I think they've built her perfectly. The heels attack, and Ripley fights them off until Gonzalez eventually overpowers her. Numbers game beatdown. The heels walk away and stand on the ramp, overlooking sort of the prone bodies of Ripley in the foreground and Io in the background. It was kind of a cool visual to end, and I guess that's our build for that match.
Yeah, so I assume Ripley will be on the team, and then if Shirai's not defending, she'll be on the team as well.
I would think that that they're
and
on.
And then Ember Moon, maybe?
Yeah, I would think that makes sense, right? Which, that should be a pretty cool match, actually.
Yep.
So then we get this weird segment, again, that I think FNS Wrestling Podcast likes more than most people, and that's Boa and Xia Li. They're in the back seat of a car this week, and they're looking very scared, being taken somewhere it seems like maybe against their will, or they're at least very reluctant to go. They meet the same master that showed up in...
Shifu it is, right?
Yeah, I think so, right.
That's what master means.
Yeah, the older gentleman that showed up in...
that one
Performance Center, is that the right location? I don't know where
Capital
it is now.
Wrestling Center.
There you go. In the CWC a couple weeks ago.
When Boa got beat up by Raquel Gonzalez.
They pull up to what basically looks like a storage...
What the heck?
Can you turn that off?
What the heck?
Thanks. They pull up to what looks like almost like a storage unit with a garage door, and the door opens. So there's a hooded female figure there, and Boa and Lee are basically begging for forgiveness, and Lee is crying, and she's, I thought, doing a really good job, to be honest. I'm not sure how many people could pull this off and not look cheesy doing it. The mark that was drawn on Boa's hand is drawn on Lee's hand now, and so the segment ends with Lee's basically pained face as she's staring at this mark on her hand, and that's really all there was. So this continued to be weird but interesting to me.
Sorry about that noise. I don't know what the hell
That's okay.
that was, but
I'm still into this little angle.
No, I agree. I really liked it as well.
And because I have no idea what's going on, right? They're slowly revealing
just kind of like the intrigue, right?
Yeah. And I've bought into the suspense of this. I'm okay not really getting much information week after week, right? It's a slow build.
Right, there's sometimes where you need the information, then sometimes where you don't.
Now, WWE has a history of disappointing me on the payoff, but the build at least is interesting. So NXT, like, this is a clever way to get me interested in a lower card storyline, right? With one character that was only sometimes on TV in Lee, and one who was never on TV in Boa, right? And I'm interested in both, so... good for them, I guess.
Agreed.
And we'll see where it goes. I've heard speculation on who the character in the hood is, but I forget her name. Anyways.
The person in the Mae Young Classic, right?
I think so. Anyways.
I'll have to look that up.
We'll see. Then we get everybody's favorite tag team, Everrise, in the ring already. And they are quickly attacked by one of your favorites. The Grizzled Young Veterans are back.
James Drake.
So they clear the ring, and Gibson grabs a mic. He reminds us of who they are and that they are back and will be NXT's number one, basically. And they hit their finisher, which is like a wheelbarrow.
Oh, it's Meiko Satomura. That's what her name is. Sorry.
Oh, I don't think... That's one of the rumors, but I'm not sure if that's who I was thinking of. Anyways,
okay. Continue.
So they hit their finisher, which is like a wheelbarrow lung blower.
Tombstone position.
On Parker, and then their music plays.
I think it's Ticket to Mayhem.
So you were glad that they're here.
I was so happy.
Me too. They're really
mostly James Drake.
They're a really talented tag team, and they're adding a strong team to a weak division. So I'm hoping there's more to follow. Both of these guys can go. They're a good tag team, and with different styles, which I like too, right? And honestly, Gibson is really good on the mic. So you've got the more athletic, high flying.
James Drake is really good at looking menacing.
Yeah, and Drake. More athletic, more high flying, and Gibson more sort of the standard British style kind of wrestler, but a really good tag team if you haven't seen them. So I'm pretty excited they're here, and I'm hoping there's sort of a renewed focus on tag team wrestling would be nice.
Yeah, that would be a breath of fresh air, and you could even see Undisputed Era go up against them now that Undisputed Era is kind of facey, right?
Yep. Then we get Candice, who's the star of this show. She's on all over the place here. She says that anyone joining Shotzi's team is making a big mistake, and Jack would agree, I'm sure. And Gonzalez will win the match for the advantage next week.
I do agree.
Gargano then gets a second to talk, and he says that they'll both win, himself and Candice, at War Games.
So, if Gonzalez is in the ladder match, sorry, just to say something, is she going to just face Shotzi then if they're just beating up everyone who joins Shotzi?
I don't know, maybe.
I guess.
It could be. We'll have to see, I guess.
Yep.
You can hope, at least, right?
I can.
So, LeRae and Gargano get in a car, and Indy Hartwell is in there, and also there's another masked person, the Ghostface.
And so the commentary team assumed there's only one, but in theory, so Indy Hartwell could have helped Candice LeRae, right?
Yes.
And then it could have been someone else who helped join Gargano. Like, what if Hartwell's only interested in helping LeRae mostly?
Well, and the one time, I mean, not that they ever care what the body type was clearly like a muscular man. The one time it looked like Austin Theory to me, but
or it's like obviously not Indy Hartwell.
No, clearly wasn't. But they switch people up all the time, right? From under masks and things to whoever they want.
Like Retribution.
Sometimes it's like they don't even know at the time when they put them under a mask. They have no idea who the reveal will be. Right. So then we get our main event, which is Kyle O'Reilly versus Pete Dunne in a ladder match for the War Games advantage. This is obviously exciting. Both of these guys are awesome.
Yep.
So the teams are separated on little raised platforms, and I had like sarcastically, yeah, that'll stop them for sure. But it kind of did, right? I don't think they were too involved.
They could jump across or like.
Well, I didn't think that to each other. I thought they would just climb down and then interfere in the ring somehow. But
I thought that you'd have like Roderick Strong yeeting himself at one of them, or Oney Lorcan doing something ridiculous.
Right. And just off of the entrance, I just have, man, does Pete Dunne look cool? He's even wearing that ridiculous fur-lined whatever it is, and he still looks cool.
Yeah.
So they slug it out to start. There's a running knee off the apron by O'Reilly. Double hand stomp and a kick by Dunne on the outside, and Dunne sets up a ladder spanning from the apron to the barricade that's going to stay there for a while before they use it. Dunne gets flipped into the plexiglass, and O'Reilly climbs a ladder, and Dunne shoves it, and O'Reilly lands pretty hard here. O'Reilly's arm is now wrapped around the ladder, and then Dunne actually puts the ladder on top, like the foot of the ladder, on O'Reilly's hand and starts to climb the ladder, which
really
I thought that was cool. But it doesn't work, obviously. He takes a dragon screw on the ladder to Dunne. We get a backflip off the ladder in the corner by Dunne, and a head kick and a power bomb on the leaning ladder.
The power bomb looks so good.
It looked really good. Very solid.
The way Kyle O'Reilly landed on it and then bounced off it, it looked so good.
No way it didn't hurt, right?
Right.
Stomps into the ladder while holding the wrist by Dunne until a dragon screw in the rope stops the momentum. We get a battle on the apron, and this was kind of dangerous, but worked out well. Dunne suplexes O'Reilly from inside the ring over the ropes outside through a ladder, and Dunne took just as much of this, if not more, than O'Reilly did. But it was still really cool.
It's always a cool visual.
And the ladder snapped right in the middle perfectly, and they fell to the floor. It looked really cool.
Yep.
Dunne slams O'Reilly's arm in the ladder. Dunne gets a chair, but O'Reilly kicks Dunne and then ends up punching the chair because his hand has already been crushed by the ladder and other things. There's been some finger manipulation done at this
Kevin
point.
Owens the one time was talking about the joint manipulation, saying how O'Reilly's has a smarter tactic, obviously targeting the leg in a ladder match.
Right.
Where you have to climb, so I thought that was a...
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
We get a guillotine by O'Reilly and a knee to Dunne's ribs. We get a pretty nice looking brain buster onto the ladder by O'Reilly. Looked kind of painful too. And then a King Kong knee is missed by O'Reilly, and he lands knee first on the ladders, which couldn't have felt good no matter what padding he's wearing. Dunn climbs the ladder, but O'Reilly applies an ankle lock and brings him back down. Dunn misses and kicks the ladder. We get a kneeling strike exchange sort of underneath the ladder. Don't they know that's bad luck? And then there's like this tug of war scene where they're grabbing each
pulling
other.
each other into the ladder,
right? Taking
which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it was a unique spot, right? I don't remember seeing it before, and it looked good and it looked painful.
It's
so that was
almost
pretty
funny,
cool.
just them continually pulling each other into the ladder.
Yeah. And then the ladders get shoved into each man's head. They sort of take the same ladder, gets tipped one way into one guy's face, and then shoved back.
That was also funny.
Yeah, that was cool. Both men are taken down by that. O'Reilly sets up a ladder again, and they both climb. They're punching each other on top of the ladder, and Dunn climbs a little bit higher and kicks O'Reilly. Dunn gets a hold of O'Reilly's fingers, and O'Reilly falls to the mat. We get an enziguri by Dunn, and O'Reilly hits the ropes and bounces off with a really big clothesline, and now they're both down again. O'Reilly gets up first, sets another ladder up, and climbs until Dunn hits him with the chair in the knees and the back. We get a bitter end on the guardrail, and Dunn...
Which was interesting. I think it could have looked better.
It could have. It doesn't. They don't. Sometimes the guardrail's so high they don't have enough room to fall to make it look really painful. You know what I mean? Like if that guardrail, I mean, it would be stupid. But if it were like a third of the height,
or if they were on something higher,
it would look more painful. It's still a cool idea, but yeah, it looks worse in execution than it does in idea, I think.
Yeah.
So Dunn climbs again, but O'Reilly tips the ladder, and Dunn falls onto another ladder. O'Reilly climbs, but someone in a hoodie runs out, pushes him off and out of the ring. So this allows Dunn to climb and easily grab the briefcase for the advantage. What did you think?
I thought this was a really good match. I liked those sequences where they were like pulling and pushing the ladder against each other.
Yes, me too.
Thought that was just unique and cool. I liked all the limb targeting was cool. The suplex through the ladder was nice. There's a lot of brutal spots here, and I think it had some uniqueness here. A good like just short
brutal, like painful, not bad, right?
And yeah, it was really good. I liked it. And obviously predictable outcome because the heels got to win, right? So.
Yeah, they're almost every time the heels have the advantage because otherwise it looks kind of weird.
Which is the reason this is the one time Undisputed aren't winning this.
So I thought this was a cool match. I didn't love the finish. Just like that's the best you could book is a guy in a hoodie runs out and pushes the, you know what I mean? But
Pat McAfee's not here. Wink, wink.
The match was really good. There was a lot of brutal spots, as you said, that looked really painful. These guys definitely worked hard in this match. Neither man can really look better than the other in WWE going into this. So this is their way of saying like, yeah, one guy won, but only because he had help, right? It's like the even Steven booking we have to do. We can't have somebody look more dominant than the other going into a major match. So that's just how it is.
Can't have your dominant silent heel look dominant.
Right. But a good match overall for sure. Can't say it wasn't. What did you think overall of the episode in a letter grade?
I thought it was really good. I thought there were some good matches and some good segments, but I liked AEW more overall, so I'd give this one a B+.
Okay.
Just behind AEW in my opinion.
So I didn't love this as much as you. I thought it wasn't bad for sure.
I just thought I thought the main event was really good, and then there was some good stuff, but like I don't know.
So I went back and just reading through everything, right? It felt promo heavy, and that the matches were pretty much just a vehicle to create or continue an angle going into TakeOver, almost like the matches other than the main event were sort of like an afterthought, right? It's like, okay, how can we get a really quick match and then build the story after the match sort of thing. Right. It felt like there was a lot of that, which isn't my favorite, especially when it seemed to be multiple times. The opener was good, although I still feel these two could have a better match. I can't say it wasn't a good match because it was.
Yeah, I think Moon definitely had a better one with Kai.
I agree. I enjoyed the Thatcher Kushida match for what it was. Grimes Atlas was basically an enhancement match, and the main event was really good overall, but there wasn't that much wrestling on this show when you consider how short a couple of the matches are. I would give it a B. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't hard to get through either, right? For me, in my opinion, AEW handily won the battle this week.
And NXT, honestly, for me, used to be a pain to watch. So.
And it hasn't been lately, right? So,
which is good. I think ever since the Super Tuesday.
AEW won the battle with a far more enjoyable show. And for me, that's that's the first time in a few weeks, right? I think I've had 3 weeks straight of NXT.
Yeah, I think it's been like either you like one slightly better, or like it's a tie. I think this is like the first time in a while AEW's like I think it's definitively better.
Right. So,
Which is
which I'm
good.
happy, because last week I ended with like, when is AEW going to be in the A range again? And it
Here's your
definitely
answer.
was. Yep. So that wraps that up, and we'll move into our any other wrestling business section. Do you want me to start, or do you have anything, or?
You're doing ROH and Impact, right?
Sure am.
So, all right. So you can choose one first, and then I'll do
You give
my
me a break
thing.
in between? That would
Yeah.
be amazing. So we'll start with Ring of Honor. It won't take me too long. Quinn McKay welcomes us to today's episode and tells us that the main event will
With the hand gestures.
Matt Taven versus the Righteous Member Bateman. There will also be a Pure Rules match with Jay Lethal facing LSG, who I really didn't know who that was, but I'm fine with that. To start the show, it'll be EC3 taking on Jay Briscoe. As always, this is just a quick professional way to start the show, with the night's matches being announced, so it's pretty much what they always do, and it's effective, I find, if I can ignore all of her hand gestures. Poor Quinn. She does a good job, but man, is she handsy. We get a back and forth video package with Jay Briscoe and EC3. Jay Briscoe's focus has been shifted. He wants to win the tag titles, but he needs to take care of EC3 first. EC3's plan is to find out if Honor is real. They're similar guys. Jay stayed here in ROH every day and fought. Jay has his respect. Jay will honor EC3 with a butt whooping, basically, he says. EC3 will offer his hand before the match. Can Jay control his narrative? Ugh. Anger and rage. Can he show EC3 that Honor is real?
I don't get it.
Okay, so here's a little bit of I start my note with listen, right? So listen. I've loved almost every video package that ROH has done since their relaunch, but EC3's half of this was really bad, and this character he is doing just tries to sound complex and interesting, but actually sounds ridiculous and cringeworthy to me.
And confusing.
And it's funny because his whole thing right now, this has made me laugh quite a bit. I don't think it was this week. I think it was last. Maybe it was this week or last. So his whole thing is, right, can you show me, is Honor real? I came here to see if which, what does that even mean? But anyways, so someone when he was on commentary,
well, people shake your hand.
Commentary last week, I think it was, one of the announcers asked him, like, what is the definition of honor to you? Because this is supposed to be his whole thing right now. And he was clearly caught off guard and just stammered out, it's undefinable. And so for me, that's just a sign that he doesn't even know what his character's doing, right?
It's like you want people to show you honor, but you don't even know what honor is. So he'll probably just, like, someone will show him honor and he'll keep looking for it.
I think EC3 just thinks that he's clever and good with words, and that he doesn't actually, I don't know, it's like he doesn't actually think about what he's saying could mean, and he clearly didn't have a plan for what honor means to him.
Just because you say big words doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're intelligent.
I think he thinks he sounds cool, and I think some people might think he does too. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but again, I don't dislike EC3, but I can't stand what he's doing here in ROH. Anyways, we do get the EC3 Jay Briscoe match, and it is a literal 2-minute match where EC3 wins by DQ. Because I think you'll get how I felt about this match. EC3 wins by DQ because a 20-year veteran who has seen everything is so incensed by EC3 trying to shake his hand that he won't break the 5 count on a choke and gets DQ'd.
What?
So that's basically what it was. EC3 is trying to shake his hand for the code of honor, because honor, even though he can't define honor is all he cares about. And so Jay Briscoe, who's been wrestling 1,000 years and has had everything tried, he falls for this, and it makes him so mad that he just can't break his hold and gets DQ'd.
Wow, that is
There's shenanigans between the two after the match, and security breaks it up. This was ridiculous. I can't stress enough how bad I found everything EC3 is doing in ROH right now. His promos, his in-ring. I don't dislike him as a performer. I swear, I just can't stand what he's doing right now.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry. LSG gets the now standard and usually excellent video promo. He was a baseball player, and I knew nothing about this guy, so I was really...
Does LSG stand for anything?
It does. I forget what it is now. It's his actual name, I think. He was a baseball player and went to a wrestling show as a kid. When Lethal was announced from New Jersey, which is LSG's home state as well, he decided sort of to become a wrestler. So it's this idea, I saw Lethal wrestle when I was really young, and it just inspired me, and it changed my goals, basically. Which is a cool little wrinkle to their story. Whether it's true or not, right? Doesn't matter to me. He made it to ROH, but was thrown into a tag team in 2019. Wasn't great, but now he's better. There was a lot more to this, but the basic idea was that he studied Lethal and knows Lethal's every move and is going to be ready for him after studying him for 15 years.
Which is cool.
So this was really good, and it got me looking forward to a match that I otherwise would not have cared about, honestly, which is exactly the goal of these segments, right? So another good job here, even though the EC3 half of the previous one was brutal. This one was really good. So Lethal gets his own video package as well. He's disappointed in his peer tournament results, but he respects Williams, who's the guy that beat him, Hot Sauce, and Gresham, the guy that won. And he respects wrestlers who are trying to improve themselves, like LSG. So it's time to give LSG a shot. And Lethal is giving LSG a gift, but LSG will pay for the gift tonight, which I thought was a pretty good line, actually. I didn't like this promo as good as others. It was still good, but I think maybe it's because I already know a lot about Jay Lethal, right? I don't need to learn about him, whereas most of the other wrestlers they're talking about I'm not very familiar with. So this wasn't my favorite video package they do, but it wasn't bad for sure.
Nice.
So we get a pure rules match, Jay Lethal versus LSG.
With like the rope breaks and the...
Yep. And the one punch and the judge's decision if it time limit, right? Which, funny enough, there's a foreshadow for you. Lethal wins a split decision after the match goes to the time limit. I thought it was a pretty good match. There was lots of counters and reversals by LSG because the story was like, I know everything you're going to do and I'm going to have a counter for it. So they did follow through with that in the match, which I liked. I don't agree with the decision based on the action in the match. It really looked to me like LSG was in control for the vast majority of this. So I guess a somewhat controversial split decision, which happens in real life all the time in boxing. So it's not a big deal.
I think they should do like a match restart or like something instead of like a decision, but whatever.
I don't know quite how to say this, but LSG's lacking something. And this sounds weird because I'm about to say his offense looked good and his selling looked good, but the other stuff. So it's like, you know, when we talk about a wrestler being fluid, you know what I mean? Like they're not, it doesn't ever look like they're thinking about anything. They just either through their experience or their skill or whatever, they just are moving from one thing to the next and it all just sort of goes. He's kind of not like that is what I'm saying. It seems like he's almost thinking about what he's doing while he's doing it. But I'm really being picky. He looked pretty good, to be honest. It was just some of the in-between stuff. So, kind of like I noticed with Wardlow, right? And some other guys that aren't super experienced.
Right.
It's just my example...
They're almost there, right?
My example is, even though I don't really like him, is TJP. He's so fluid in the ring because he's been wrestling since he was 14 or whatever, right? And it's all just natural and happens. Where these guys, it kind of looks like they're still having to think about it, which is just... hopefully something that will fix with experience, right? So a good match, though, not all the same.
Nice.
They play the same, I'm pretty sure, video package from last week about the Taven Vincent situation that has led to this main event, which is Bateman versus Taven. So Bateman, I know from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He's been one of their main eventers, always near the top of the card for quite a while. He's looking much heavier here and not in a good way than when I've seen him on the indies. And I don't think he looked as good in this match as other times I've seen him. I was not a fan of his work in this match, and that disappoints me because, you know, I love to love the guys that I've known on the indies when they sort of get to a major promotion. I'm always rooting for them. Taven wins with a roll-up after tweaking at his knee. After the match, Bateman and Vincent attack Taven. Vincent teases throwing a dart at Taven. But good old Mike Bennett makes his return, and he saves Taven here, and Bennett and Taven are reunited.
Why were they in a faction?
I think they were previously. Again,
it was during Kingdom.
It was during the time where I have a blind spot for. He might have been. You bring up the Kingdom a lot. Did you like them or something?
I like TK Orion.
I don't even remember that guy, to be honest with you.
I don't even know why I like him.
Fair enough. You don't have to know. You like what you like. This was
Kip Sabian.
This was not a good match, especially for a main event. I was disappointed and hoping better from Bateman. I'm happy to see Bennett. He's actually better than he got to show in WWE. And I think he's actually a good fit for Ring of Honor.
He didn't do much in WWE aside from getting bullied by his own wife.
And it's funny because at his previous ROH run too, he sort of took heat there because he wasn't like a super mega amazing wrestler like Punk and Daniel Bryan, because that was sort of ROH's niche, right? This is where the amazing wrestlers are. And he was really new and just learning, so he took some heat for not being like on their level. But I don't know. There's room for he's not a bad wrestler, and obviously it's been a decade or more since then, so he's a lot better now. But I think he's a good fit for their company. I had overall, this was one of the easiest shows for me to assign a grade because this was like the quintessential B- for me. It was easy enough to watch and parts were enjoyable, but EC3 in his video and in his match and a weak main event hurt the overall rating for sure. And one of my fears is that they're going to start to include more of their roster because you don't get to see them all in an hour show, obviously. that maybe some of the episodes I'm not going to enjoy if I don't enjoy the talent featured on that episode, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. So a B-. It wasn't great. Don't rush out and see it, but it wasn't torture either.
Nice.
Speaking of torture, actually, I won't go into Impact yet. What was your any other wrestling business?
So Braun Strowman was kayfabe suspended on Raw by WWE after attacking WWE official Adam Pearce on Raw after taking exception to Pearce's plan for WWE title opportunities for Team Raw, with Strowman put last. And like I said in the news, this is believed to be due to a knee injury.
Right.
And so a series of one-on-one matches occurred on WWE Monday Night Raw, the same episode. So in the triple threat match, the result was Matt Riddle versus... I'm saying Matt Riddle. That's right. Matt Riddle.
Yes, you are incredibly stubborn on this point. You will not say
dumb.
Riddle.
Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee versus AJ Styles for the No More Contenders match for the WWE title next week.
That's an interesting combination, actually.
Right?
I'm kind of interested in that.
So Riddle beat Sheamus. I think Lee defeated Lashley by DQ, I believe. And Styles defeated Randy Orton to advance.
Poor Keith Lee, man. I don't understand. I don't understand. He's
Singlet,
got a unique look. He's super talented. He's got charisma.
Bro, the singlet.
Just wasting him.
And then a new Firefly Funhouse character was introduced in the form of Friendship Frog.
Right.
And naturally, he was killed shortly after his introduction.
And do you remember the character that they had that was
the Walrus?
Paul Heyman-esque? I was reading about that.
Apparently they canceled it.
Right, that was actually where the story was supposed to go, and then they switched to the Uso story.
Yeah, and then they put him on Raw.
Which is why that puppet hasn't been back. Or
that makes sense.
Right.
All right, now continue with your torture.
So Impact Wrestling, let's talk about it. I will put a little teaser here. I was fascinated by something that happened. Don't say what it was, right? But I was fascinated by something that happened to the point where I paused it and because a little light bulb went off in my head and we talked about
what was it?
in the
I don't
moment.
remember.
It was involving the women's feud, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So a special treat this week.
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Jack watched the majority of this show, so he'll have maybe a little bit of input. I think you missed.
Oh, yeah, I did.
I think you missed the very beginning, but you watched most of the rest of it, right? So let's talk about this.
For better or for worse.
Let's talk about this adventure. So following a recap of last week, the show starts with Scott D'Amore standing over a comatose Johnny Bravo. The doctor comes in and says that there's a lot of work to be done, but if Bravo does pull through, he may never be the same, which D'Amore implies wouldn't be a bad thing. Ha ha ha. He doesn't think.
Wow, Scott D'Amore, you're so funny.
He continues his annoying character work where he's a face, I guess, but is obnoxious about it, basically. The doctor leaves, and D'Amore promises justice to Bravo. This was the cheesiest looking hotel room I've ever seen. Instead of the rack, the rack that holds like IV bags and stuff, they had a coat rack sitting there, which I thought was funny. Not intentionally funny, probably. It's not the way I wanted this show to start. I don't want anything to do with this storyline, so this is not a good start.
Nice.
Then we get Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz versus the Sea Stars in a round one match of the Knockouts tag team tournament.
Oh, it's a tournament. Okay.
Were you watching this? I can't remember when you joined.
I don't know.
I think you came in halfway through this. Yeah.
I don't think I really watched it, but I might have seen like...
It was on in your presence, but you wouldn't say you watched it.
Yeah, I don't know if I was there for the full thing either.
I don't either. Small thing here, but I wish Steelz and Hogan had a tag team name. I don't know. I prefer that for some reason. Their energy during their entrance and in general is fantastic, and a live crowd would likely help this act even more than most.
They'd get booed so much, it'd be pretty good.
I think Hogan and maybe Steelz, but I feel like Hogan for sure is going to be gone from Impact as soon as someone else gets a chance to sign her. Neither of them are amazing in ring yet, but improving really quickly, and they both are good enough in ring already. Their look, energy, and charisma will be more than enough to get their foot in the door at some major company. I really think so. These two are one of my favorite acts on this show. I think I rave about them every week. And it's not the fact that they're amazing wrestlers, because they're not. They're not bad.
That's like the Iconics, honestly.
But it's the total package of these are just awesome.
Yeah, like the character work. Honestly, that's why I like the Iconics.
Yeah,
right?
they were super fun. Every little segment they did was entertaining, right? And matches, not so much,
this
but
is
whatever.
Impact's Iconics.
So this match thankfully ends when Kiera Hogan hits a swinging neckbreaker for the win. As you know, I love Hogan and Steelz, but this was not a good not a good match. And the Sea Stars did not impress me at all. The larger of the two, because they're sisters, and one's quite big, like kind of like Rhea Ripley maybe size, or almost Gonzalez size. So she had some decent flashes, but overall, I didn't think they looked good, and this was not up to the standards of what I think's a pretty strong women's division, so I was not impressed with this match.
Nice.
Then we get a backstage segment where Jazz is revealed as Jordan Grace's partner for the tournament. Jazz says that she was about to retire, but would like to go out on top, and they'll win this tournament easily. And
yeah, Jazz is bald.
Yeah,
it's
she
almost
is
like
bald.
she got cancer or something.
I think it's just a look that she's choosing because she is super tough. So this pairing makes sense to me. We've got two powerhouses of different generations, right? I haven't seen...
Wasn't Jazz in ECW?
She sure was. She was really good there too. I haven't seen Jazz wrestle in a while, and I hope she still has something left in the tank because she's good. So I'm interested to see this combination at least. Jazz deserves more credit for her accomplishments, in my opinion, and contributions to women's wrestling because she doesn't really get talked about a lot, but she was actually a talented powerhouse
wrestler. And she was in WWE when they had like still Tori Wilson.
Right,
and whatnot.
like she could actually go and was an intimidating presence who could dominate people back before that wasn't a thing they valued really in a women's division, right? So, I don't know. I'm interested to see where this goes. So Matt Stryker is on commentary this week, and he and Josh run down the card for this show.
There's the one thing, I can't remember what it was, but his voice sounded really weird in the one
You did
segment.
say it was really high or something. I didn't notice.
It sounded like almost like Adam Goldberg at one point in the show.
Interesting.
Goldberg's
one of our favorite
reference.
shows, people. If you don't watch the Goldbergs and you were a child of the 80s, you should probably check it out because it's
hell yeah.
As a child of the 80s, it's pretty fun to watch. So Ethan Page is backstage and walks up to Josh Alexander with what he considers amazing news. Doc Gallows is out 4 to 6 weeks.
I like what Josh Alexander his response was.
Me too. Page says somebody did the North a favor by taking him out, and Alexander points out that it's actually not a favor because they can't get the tag team titles back if Gallows isn't healthy enough to defend, right? Which is and I think this is it's kind of a clever way of starting the rift between these two, right? Like Page...
If they really want to do that.
Yeah, it seems like they do. So Page reacts kind of like he never thought of this, and then he just sort of says, "We got this, Josh."
I thought that was kind of funny, though, Josh, like... Just his response, I really liked it for some reason.
And Josh then says he wants to know who "we" is, right? Which I think is almost foreshadowing something too. So I was impressed too with Alexander because he doesn't really get to speak very much because Paige talks so much and is so good.
He's probably like the Dax Harwood of the team.
Right, but he really held his own here, I thought. He did a good job. And I'm just wondering, obviously, is this the breakup and departure of Ethan Page, whose contract, as you told me last week, is set to expire soon? Definitely seems to be a bit of tension created here. I'm interested to see where it goes, and honestly, the more I think about it, the less it's bothering. I do love them as a tag team, but Alexander could honestly be a single star for this company if he's handled correctly, right?
I think he is holding a singles title right now. I remember when we got the picture of him, he had like the tag title.
Oh yeah, we do have an in-ring picture with him with belts.
And I think I follow him now, and I keep seeing him with some singles title. I can't remember what it is, but...
And I like the Walking Weapon nickname too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's his Instagram.
So I think he could be like a mostly silent, dominant, like really strong wrestler for this company if they kind of treat him right. So we'll see where it goes. If they're even breaking up the tag team and Paige is leaving, we'll find out. Here, the involuntary sigh. So guess what segment is next? Wrestlers Court segment 1. So segment 1 implies there's more than one segment. I apologize, but at least you guys didn't have to watch it. I'm taking this bullet for you. Unless you did watch it, and then my condolences. Maybe you loved it. I shouldn't say. Who knows? There's different tastes, right?
Yeah.
But, so this gets the People's Court treatment, and I ask, is that still a thing? I don't know, because I
really hated the noise of
I would love to say it's not timely at all, but maybe People's Court still exists. I don't know. Anyway, Swinger says this is the biggest house he ever drew, which I thought was funny, because there's lots of people in the courtroom, right? So... he makes me laugh, I'm not going to lie. Dreamer is the judge to start, D'Lo is the prosecutor, and Swinger's lawyer is Madison Rain. It's explained she's the only person that even remotely likes Johnny Swinger, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
D'Lo and Dreamer switch roles because since it makes no sense for Dreamer to be the judge because he's like the investigator and one of the potential suspects sort of thing. So for him,
and he doesn't like Swinger.
Right, so he's sort of biased. So they switch spots, and D'Lo becomes the judge, complete with wearing the powdered wig. Rain's defense of Swinger is actually kind of funny, right? Her defense is basically that Swinger is too stupid to pull off something that was even halfway well planned, and that like the fact that it did take some planning should completely rule out her client because he's not smart enough to figure that out.
Pretty funny.
So that was kind of funny, right? In this giant wasteland of whatever, there was a couple funny things there. The wrestlers testify it's bad. AC Romero is apparently the fingerprint expert, and he reveals that, yes, there were fingerprints from Swinger on the gun, but so were everybody else's that was in Wrestle House, basically. I don't know why Dreamer couldn't have gotten that information before he got to court, but he didn't. So Swinger then tries to bribe D'Lo with beer and has a good feeling about the case. This was not good. It's too long. Not funny, aside from a couple things that we mentioned there. But it was much, much longer than this for those couple isolated laughs. And it's just not what I'm looking for in wrestling, personally. I have no idea how people in general feel about this stuff because nobody really...
I think there used to be a real thing, Wrestler's Court, right?
There is, and there's talk about that backstage, right? Like if you do something that I think it was Undertaker and maybe
like
JBL
the BSK,
or like...
the Bone Street Crew.
Right. So I have no idea how people in general feel about this kind of stuff on Impact because nobody really covers Impact that I find. I do listen to one podcast that covers them. But I'd be interested to find out somehow. It also wastes some talent, in my opinion. I always talk about Rosemary and Taya deserve better than this, so it wasn't cool. But it'll be back later.
No, it was not.
So Rohit then comes out, and it's time for the Defeat Rohit Challenge. He cuts a pretty good heel promo, and Suicide comes out, and once Rohit... and since Rohit feels that Suicide is not a worthy opponent, it's only going to be a non-title match. So I know who's in the Suicide suit. Do you know?
What? Yeah, I was the one who predicted
Who?
it. Crazy Steve.
No, that's not the Suicide suit in this one.
Oh. Wait, what? Yeah, it was. What are you talking about?
In this one, but generally, this time.
Generally TJP.
No, it's been Caleb Connolly lately, apparently.
Oh, Conley. Yeah.
Which makes sense because the size was a bit big. Sorry,
that.
Yes, we do find out in this one. But so obviously Rohit believes that Suicide is TJP, right? Because last week D'Amore basically told TJP to do this gimmick of just come as somebody other than TJP and you can have a title match. So we're all supposed to assume that TJP is under the mask here.
It clearly doesn't look like TJP though. You pointed that out.
It doesn't. And Rohit gets to act like he's outsmarted him by making it a non-title match, right? So to end the match, Rohit pulls off Suicide's mask, and it's not TJP because TJP coincidentally walks out on the ramp. So obviously Rohit is distracted by this, and it's Crazy Steve, who you did actually predict, didn't you, in when this match started?
Yeah, I just noted it looked like him.
And Crazy Steve gets a crucifix pin for the win. This was fine. I mean, it wasn't great, but it continues the TJP Rohit feud, which I'm not sure how I feel about. They can have good matches. I just don't find TJP super interesting, and he's had so many opportunities. But anyways, it gets Crazy Steve away from the Wrestle House wedding shooting story, which is good because I like Crazy Steve, and I think there's a place for him.
Yeah, and it's even cooler knowing that he's blind.
Yeah, he's legally blind, as we bring up every week.
Which is, I do bring it up, though, because it's just, like, it's cool.
It's a pretty interesting career choice for someone legally blind, right?
Yep. It's just, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's just, like, how do you do that?
So Sami Callihan is backstage hyping up Ken Shamrock when Moose interrupts to say that Shamrock is going after the second most important title in the company, obviously after his TNA title.
I did not like this.
He says that he's going to hurt Swan, but they beat him to it, and reminds Shamrock what happened last time he and Moose fought. Shamrock is mad and gets in Moose's face, and Sami has to hold him back. I liked Moose in this because I like his subdued, slow, quiet delivery now. It also lets us know that Moose is soon to be involved in a title feud, most likely, which I think he should be. I think he's a main eventer in this company. I don't need Shamrock at all, really, but if I have to... I don't need
Shamrock ever.
I'd rather he's in a 2-minute segment backstage than in a match, which will happen later.
I want him to go away.
Me too. Alicia can't take the hint that Tenille and Caleb want nothing to do with her in a backstage segment. She was so bad at
talking. Holy.
I know, but it kind of... I don't know. I kind of like it because it's like fits in with this naive character that's not picking up on social cues that the cool crowd are not interested in her, right?
It was pretty awful though.
So Caleb and Tenille seem to be extending this relationship, and it almost feels like it's going to be maybe to mess with Alicia. That's the feeling I got, but who knows, right? So I've actually thought Alicia was kind of funny here, playing the naive optimist to Tenille's like selfish, self-absorbed character. So I'm actually kind of interested to see where they go, right? Because Tenille is like all about herself and the most selfish, and Alicia just seems like the naive, optimistic, like, oh, everything's great, we're buddies, we can be friends, right? Sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where they go with it. So here is where my fascination comes in, right? We get Kimberly versus Killer Kelly.
Yeah.
who we've met.
Oh, and Renee Michelle was accompanying her, who I noticed
Accurately.
it was Drake Maverick's wife.
Right. So Lee wins a short but decent match with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and a top rope senton for what is my note here? For a minute match. For
Oh, 1 minute match?
maybe for like a 2-minute match, this was decent, and Kelly got in a tiny bit of pretty good looking offense, but obviously it was very quick, so that we didn't get to see much of her. After the match, Deonna and Kimber celebrate, and here's the fun part. So they're celebrating, and Susie's music hits, and she comes to the ramp. She says in her Susie voice, which I think is a cool character,
I liked it too.
that Purrazzo and Lee have hurt her friends. So now her friend is here and she's going to hurt them. And then she says,
That's
sorry.
bad.
Right? So Su Young's music hits and she runs down and attacks. Lee and Purrazzo get away.
And Josh Matthews is like, Su Young is back.
Right.
Su Young is here. Would you like to explain?
I will. Su Young leaves. And then, so Susie's been on. It's a cool little effect, right? Because even when
really
Su
like it.
Young runs out, Susie's still on the stage, but she's turned her back to us. So it's like they're both there at the same time for a second.
Kind of keeping the illusion,
Right.
if there is any.
And because
that
it's pre-taped,
they're
they
separate.
can do what they want, right? And then when Su Young runs up the ramp and leaves, she actually she goes by Susie, who's still standing there with her back. So we actually see both of the personalities in theory together, right? So then Su Young leaves and Susie turns around and she looks really confused by what's happened. Like she was sort of like disassociative state and she's not even sure what just happened. Okay, so we paused this and talked about it once we realized what was going on here. So I had this light bulb moment. So this was clearly their original plan, right? Before Kylie Ray left, she no-showed, which pay-per-view was
Bound
that?
for Glory.
Bound for Glory. And they had to quickly switch storylines, right? So they obviously brought Su Young back before they really wanted to. But it's like they just paused this storyline and did all of that stuff and pushed play again like nothing happened, except lots did happen and we all saw it. Like they're trying to act like this is shocking that Su Young has been back. So
After losing the title.
all of these little segments where there's writing on the mirrors and stuff, I feel like we weren't supposed to have seen Su Young, right? We're all supposed to be like, oh, this is hopefully Su Young. Oh, she's coming back.
'Cause
She's already been back. She's already won the title. She's already lost the title, right? So this is super strange to me. I don't know if they had
I'm wondering if Kylie Ray maybe wouldn't have won the match and then would have gotten like beat up a bunch and then it would have led to this.
Clearly they wanted to slowly tease Su Young's return until this point, and then even though she's already returned and been here a bunch, they decided to like just, I don't know if they had recorded this already and just decided not to change it, but it seems really strange choice to me because this was anticlimactic because Su Young has already returned. She's already had a title win and she's already lost it. And the commentary are acting like we haven't seen Su Young in years, right? Like, so it's a shame this storyline got blown up, but how could they not try harder to fix this? I don't understand what's going on here. Maybe it was recorded a while ago and couldn't be changed. And I could actually see this being kind of cool if it was really the first time, right? And that all of these little segments before this in the weeks before where it's being like the writing on the blackboard and Kimberly just gets thrown into the other side of the glass by a mysterious, like obviously we're assuming it's Su Young coming back, but we didn't know for sure, right? But she's been back. We've seen her wrestle. I don't understand. So this was super disappointing and funny, but for all the wrong reasons, just the same. I don't know. I didn't get it. Like it's like they just like, hey everybody, just please forget that Su Young's been back and had matches, and because this was the story we really wanted to tell but couldn't tell because things changed, and we're just gonna do it anyways. We're just driving it through here.
Yeah.
So it was strange. Anyways, then we get Rich Swann talking to Willie Mack backstage about losing to Moose last week, and poor Willie Mack gets one line basically to say, and he stumbles through it.
It was so bad.
I felt bad for him because I like him, but he just can't speak apparently. So Chris Bay shows up and tries to convince Swann that Bay and Swann would be the money match, right? Because he's the ultimate finesser, so he's trying to finesse Swann into a match basically. Then Bay calls Mack a loser and tells Swann to give him a call if he actually gets past Shamrock. So I've said it before, and I said it to you while we were watching it. Putting Swann in a segment with Bay just reinforces my opinion that the belt is on the lesser star right now. Bay has a better look. He has more charisma. He delivers his lines better. It's debatable who's better in the ring. Swan might be a little more polished at this point, but Bay's still really good. And they can push Bay as like one of their own, right? Since he has just basically come from the indies and hasn't worked in a major company before. This is one of these guys, we talked about it earlier in this episode, right? I fear that this is one of the guys they're not going to use until he's on his way out the door, like to his full potential at least. I don't think Bay will be in this promotion for the long haul, so I think they got to start using this guy now. I think he's a star, and every time he's...
And if they really are going to be happy for people when they leave, I think then they need to push him so that people will want him, maybe.
Yep. Every time they put him with Swan feels like a mid-carder, Bay feels like a main eventer. They need to flip-flop their plans for these guys, in my opinion. But anyways, Ethan Page loses to Swoggle, cosplaying AJ Styles when Josh Alexander grabs Swoggle's leg, leading Carl Anderson to get involved. And then Page obviously becomes distracted and gets rolled up by Swoggle. So this may lead to more tension, as maybe it's like Alexander sort of cost him the match kind of thing. Honestly, Swoggle's entrance, ring gear, and mimicry of AJ I thought were really good and kind of funny.
He clearly bought like at least the gloves and stuff off the WWE shop. Like he had to. Like I've literally seen the gloves being sold on the website. Like if I really want
your
to,
brother used to want them back when AJ was.
If this was a video, I could probably pull it up right now. But he clearly like bought that off. The pants are probably custom made because he's short. So
well, yeah,
or maybe it's a Halloween costume that he got.
So everything after his entrance I thought was pointless, and I don't understand. Like I didn't like it. I thought his entrance was funny, and then basically that was all I needed to see from this. And it again is this further evidence that Page is on his way out. He's losing matches to Swoggle on television now, right? So
true.
We'll see where it goes.
We will.
Great news, audible sigh. Back to Wrestler's Court. Here's my summary. It gets weak. Very professional job I did here. Back to Wrestler's Court, and things happened. And Rosemary and James Mitchell testified. And it turns out, long story short, Lawrence, so Larry D's alter ego that was briefly in Russell House, shot Johnny Bravo for taking his girlfriend. Because the storyline, if you don't remember and you really want to make me reflect on this giant dumpster fire of television, he was going on a date with Rosemary or something before all of this happened. Oh my God, who cares? So there was much more to this. It actually spanned 2 segments. Like there was a commercial break involved in this madness, but I chose not to go into detail about it. I want it to be over so that all involved can move on. Sorry, not fun. Then we get Fall of Ba versus Daivari, and I honestly, just as I was wondering why this was happening, Eric Young and Doring come out, and Doring chokeslams Fall of Ba.
To solve your inquiry.
And EY, exactly. And EY pile drives Daivari. Young grabs a mic and starts to cut a promo, but Rhino runs out and attacks, only to eventually be beaten down by Young and Doring. So I'm wondering if it's like this is Doring's first actual feud/match is going to be with Rhino, which is fine. So again, I don't know.
His theme is annoying. It's like gore, 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 gore.
We'll see what Doring can do. He hasn't super impressed me, but they've put him in a good spot where he just gets to come down as a hoss and beat on people. So we'll see what he can actually do in a match if we get to that point. So more destruction by these two guys is fine by me. And this got Young and Doring on the show and introduced probably his first opponent, I guess. It wasn't super exciting, but it had a point to it, so it's okay. Lee and Perazzo talked to James Mitchell backstage about having Su Yung remain Susie since they think they can handle her much more easily than Su Yung. So James Mitchell says that he will help, but he won't negotiate the price until later. So if you're ever making a deal with someone, try and find out what the payment's going to be, because I don't imagine
probably going to be something stupid.
I don't imagine they're going to be happy with what he wants in return. So I hope this is not a return to the supernatural, like other realms and things, because that's a bridge too far for me. Because Su Yung is really cool, but not if they take it too far. So basically, they want him to use his sorcery somehow to just make sure Susie stays Susie and can't flip to Su Yung, and I don't.
Or Su Yung gets put in the realm, I guess, or trapped in a realm, or I feel stupid.
And that's where I
that.
get annoyed. Although it might make for good podcasting when I rant about how bad things are. Maybe sometimes I like
when we can hear your audible suffering.
Sorry. So the main event.
It's funny.
And main event in 2020 is Ken Shamrock. That is not a mistake. It is 2020. I mean, we're in a hurry for it to be over, believe me. And it is Ken Shamrock. And he is versus Rich Swann for the Impact World Championship. Allow me to summarize professional notes again. Shamrock gains control, performs one very basic move, a stomp, a kick, a knee, a punch, and then waits and repeats. It's basically like Swan is lying on the mat and he gets kicked, and then we wait 15 seconds while Shamrock stands in an MMA stance and then kicks him again and then walks around. Why is Shamrock main eventing a show in 2020?
Why is he wrestling?
And if this is what he's capable of doing, if this is honestly the match he's capable of pulling off, what are you doing? Anyways,
Right, then why is he here?
this was so slow and plodding and boring that I'm almost insulted that this was what they're giving me to end the show. Swan, no offense, is an upper mid-carder at best, and Shamrock looks to be clearly past serviceable even. I can't even give him he looked serviceable here. He looked less than serviceable in the ring. I could this isn't nice. I could draw names out of a hat and I would stand a decent chance of creating a more interesting match than this. Afterwards, Shamrock takes out the ref and Sammy runs in, package pile driver to Swan that actually looked really cool. Sammy gets the bat while Shamrock holds Swan. Eddie Edwards, because he knows how the bat feels to get hit with, he runs out to make the save, but he gets taped to the ropes, long story short, and hit in the head with the bat and becomes bloodied. Officials come out and D'Lo gets attacked by Shamrock. Eddie's a bloody mess, and we've seen...
And Sammy uses the blood as face
And
paint.
we've seen almost this exact storyline before, right? So they're kind of going back to it.
Except they did it better.
Sammy's got the bat, and he's a violent monster. And he's got backup this time.
He's got an old man with him.
Overall, wow, was this show a dud. I promise you guys, I do try to be positive, especially with smaller promotions like Impact. I want them to be great. I want to be on here telling people that it's like
You also
wrestling.
want to be honest.
I want to be like, it's wrestling's best kept secret. You guys really need, it's underappreciated. You got to go watch it. But there's not much good I can say about this show. The women's tag match was not good. Wrestlers Court segments were long and not entertaining at all. The Lee Killer Kelly was 2 minutes long and the main event was awful. I sadly, for the first time since doing this podcast, 19 episodes covering 4 shows an episode, this is my first D. Impact, you get a D this week. So it wasn't great. It was bad, frankly.
You're
I can't
really
even
screwing
say.
up, Impact.
Right? This was barely watchable and wasted most of my time. So please do better. And I'm hopeful for something better next week. Okay.
You and both.
So that takes us to...
And that was the one I watched.
We are just about
That's the best part.
We are about to click over 3 hours for a new record on this
Wow.
podcast. Sorry,
Wow.
everybody, or you're welcome, everybody, depending how you feel. Depending how you feel about
You're
us,
welcome
right?
to Devin. Yeah.
Devin, you're welcome, buddy. All-time record here.
Yeah.
And we got one more segment, and that is where Jack talks about the world of wrestling figures. And so it is time for figuring it out
Yeah.
with Jack.
Boy, do I have a lackluster thing.
That's okay. We're at 3 hours, buddy, so it doesn't have to be long.
So Chris Jericho's ringside exclusive bubbly thing is on back order until February of next year, which really pisses me off because I really wanted it.
Okay.
But, I mean, I got figures
You will
late
wait.
for my birthday, so, I mean, here's hoping.
Yep.
Mom, if you're listening to this. Well, Dad's right here, so Daddy, you can pass the message on.
Sure will. Top priority.
Also, Walter's ringside exclusive figures also on back order
that'd be
until
nice.
February. Yeah, which is another thing I wanted, so
Fair enough.
we're doing real good here.
Yep.
And then we got ringside posted some new loose images for Elite 81, which, just as a reminder, has The Rock, Stunning Steve Austin, Shinsuke Nakamura, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, and Bianca Belair. Chase
Ooh,
variants.
Belair
Shinsuke
figure would be cool.
Nakamura. Yeah, it's pretty good. The face scan's much better than the basic.
Nice.
And then store exclusive is Mae Young, which it really looks weird when you take her coat off because it's old Mae Young.
Yeah.
But it at least has the Mae Young trophy, which is cool.
Nice.
And it's actually currently in stock. And I don't know, you were asking me earlier about the AEW scale ring, and that's also in stock. Because I remember when we were walking over, you asked me about that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I did.
That's it.
Wow, that was quick, short, and sweet.
Told you it was lackluster.
Well, that brings us to the end of an
A
epic
monster FNS right here.
episode of FNS Wrestling Podcast.
4:02. We started at like what? 12, like almost 1.
Yeah, we started at 1 o'clock basically. So we've been down here for 3 hours in the basement talking about stuff, but it's fun. It's still one of the highlights of my week, locking
Except
ourselves
for
in
Impact.
here and doing this. Yeah, but suffering through, it's worth ranting about it almost. You know what I mean?
It's funny for me.
So any of you that have made it this far in the podcast, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
If you've made it this far, you're a diehard fan, so you really should reach out and contact us at fnswrestling@gmail.com.
Yeah,
or
anyone who contacts us about
anything.
or like if you contact us saying that you listened to this whole thing, then we'll shout you out. How about that?
Pretty
We'll shout
much,
out
if
next
you
week.
contact this show, you're pretty much guaranteed at this point that we'll mention you. Even if you email to say that you hate us and we're terrible and quit, I'll probably still talk about you in our opening segment. So, again, you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, I think
Like,
Tunein.
basically anything you want to
Yeah.
listen to a podcast on.
You find us. We're
Yeah.
everywhere.
If we're not there, then, again, contact us. If you want us to try to get on a certain platform, we can try. Like,
Yep.
If there's a request, we'll honestly try to do it, because we haven't gotten, like, well, we had someone reach out to us, but, like, we haven't had any major requests yet.
A
so.
decent number of people listen to us, but nobody's really contacted us yet. If you have questions about anything, we'll probably answer them on the air, even if it's like about our setup, how we're doing things, how to get into podcasting,
how many mics
whatever.
my father has.
Yeah, well, Christmas is coming up. My whole list is mics, so we'll see
how
what I get.
How I can resist not using the Bowflex Max trainer machine when it's sitting right next to me.
Well, now we're rambling, so let's wrap this up and get out of here. So everybody have a great week. Thanks again for
happy
listening.
Happy Thanksgiving to any American fans.
That's right. And we will see you back here next week. Until then, take care.